happened there? Was that for position?
I
can't have been for position.
It's not for position. They were 12 laps apart. But something happened to Phillips. Let's see if we can figure this out real quick, because I'm not sure what happened to. They're side by side here, so we'll figure it out if there's an issue. This is going into the hairpin.
Left. Already slow from Phillips Best, and then you've got the BMW up his inside here. What's going on? BMW's gone a bit deep. Oh, they've had to check up and then been rear-ended a little bit by the Porsche behind them. I don't know if that's resulted in. I don't know if it's resulted in any damage for them, but it's certainly a strange situation there.
That looked a little bit worse when it pulled up, because it pulled up right as like if they crashed. It may have just been because they came to a complete stop in that hairpin.
Yeah, no. Ooh, wow, that's very wide from Spess there.
A little bit rattled there, 3 wide.
Whoa. Is that, yeah, one of the GTP cars going through.
Because then that was the 18.
It's one of those situations I was talking about earlier, Carmen. You get those cars checking up. One of the other GT3's been a little bit opportunistic to try and get alongside and get through. And then you as the GTP, it's like, you look at that and it's like, damn, can I make that gap? And sometimes you've got to. Nick Baggerman already losing enough time from the penalty. Doesn't want to lose any more, so he's going to go for that one.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's trying to hold on to that 5th place finish at the moment. As things sit, he's got a pretty decent gap. 40 seconds between him and the 6th place number 10 car. Another car in Go Esports is in pit lane. This is Sergio Sanchez Cachaferro behind the wheels of the Go Esports car.
This might be a little bit early for them. They've only been out on track for 32 laps. So I'm wondering if maybe they're doing shorter stops, refueling a little bit less, or maybe they've had to come in a little bit early.
Driver change. Pablo Alfieri, the driver that started that car, back on track.
Yeah, Alfieri looking very quick at the start of this race. Let's see if he's going to be able to recover any positions for this Go Esports car. They do have the Nix car in front of him, and the stop and go Acura is going to fly past him as well. So he's got some work to do here, Carmen.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of work right now. Ruben Sanchez for Nix Esports in that 33 car right now. He's got a lap to that number 23 car, so he's got a little bit of a buffer to try to make things happen, and he's got about 1.5 seconds to the car in front, which is trying to find Albert Marquez.
He has got the number 56 Magic Arrow car in front of him. The thing is, though, these two haven't been able to really eat into the gap to that Mass Devil's blue car. But they haven't been fighting. I'm thinking maybe that 10 car has just got a little bit more pace over them at the moment.
Fantastic camera angle there from the wall approaching the stadium section here. And this is the Magic Arrow 56. He's gotten clear of some of the GT3 lap traffic. Again, a lot of, I guess you could say, sparring sessions between cars. They're not really so much like straight on battles. It's pretty well just you blink and you miss sometimes. Nix Esports got there and immediately lost it.
Yeah, no, completely. But we've got to keep an eye on the gap between the Magic Arrow car and the Nix Esports car. Magic Arrow, the number 56, has been out for 28 laps at the moment. Nix Esports on much fresher tyres, only being out on track for 10 laps. So in the next few laps or so, I can imagine the pace of that Magic Arrow car is going to drop off a little bit and give Nix Esports the opportunity they maybe need to try and squeeze on through.
Absolutely. Obviously, a lot of work to be done still. Everyone pushing forward here. We're crossed into the 5th hour of this race. 4 hours and change completed.
Yeah, and we were talking about the battle between the number 71 and 55 not 10 minutes ago, but that gap has already opened up to 5.3 seconds. They're really showing us what pace that number 71 Cadillac has at the moment, and it's very, very impressive. A whole 1.3 seconds. In fact, no, they lost 1.3 seconds to the number 55 last lap. But up until this point, I've been so much faster lap on lap.
Yeah, watching on board the Nix Esports car as they go through the lap traffic there, the GT3 cars on the final corner.
Did you hear the sound of that Cadillac, Carmen? That NASCAR-based grumbly V8 sat behind the driver.
That's a Corvette screaming his head off. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, what a gorgeous engine note. It's got to be the best sound in GTP. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm an absolute stickler with the sound of the 963, but I drove that Cadillac for a whole season last season, and there's not much that comes close to it in terms of noise.
Yeah, it's the and that's one thing that's what's so great about the GTP cars. Obviously, we see a whole bunch of Cadillacs right now. All the cars in the top 9 are Cadillacs. You have to go all the way down to stop and go in 10th place. They are in the Acura.
Yeah.
But there's so many different engines in the GTP class. You talk about the V8 engine, the 5.8 liter V8 engine in the Cadillac. You've got the IndyCar 2.4 liter twin turbo V6 in the Acura.
So actually, fun fact about the Acura, it's definitely an IndyCar based engine block. Yeah. But she is a 2.6 liter, so she's very much bored out and built more for this endurance racing. Yeah. Got those bigger cylinders, got those bigger engine parts that are going to hold up to wear and tear a lot better than those comparatively small 2.4 liter IndyCar engines.
Yeah, a little bit more displacement, and that's going to matter a ton when you have spec hybrid. Make the most of that as much as you can. Well, especially when you've already got the lighter engine components anyway. So
yeah, the tricky part about that bigger engine, though, is it's just that little bit less torquey than the IndyCar engine itself. A little bit more like inertia for the car itself to overcome. And with how much these cars weigh, the 1,080 kilograms before BOP, and the very, very low end lack of low end torque on the Acura, this car coming up to the hairpin now is going to have quite the time getting out of this corner, even in first gear. The hybrid doesn't help as much as you might think it would.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It's a spec hybrid system, so everyone's got the same hybrid system, but it's how you out interacts with the actual engine power, which is why you see so many teams preferring the Cadillac right now. It just has that immediate torque, that immediate impact, especially at tracks like this, and especially at tracks in a couple weeks' time when we head to Magny-Cours.
Yeah, here at the Hockenheimring, which we would call a more medium downforce circuit, the Cadillac, when it comes to tracks like this, has been pretty damn fast compared to everything else. And just looking at official iRacing races in the IMSA series over the last few weeks, it's been Cadillac wall to wall.
Yeah. You thought about this going into this race. We had 16 GTPs entering this race. 12 of them were Cadillacs, 3 Acuras, crazy. And 3 Acuras, a Porsche, which is out of this race. That was the number 70, and 0 BMWs. Yeah, the 74 is the Porsche.
I've got to say, I'm quite surprised by the lack of BMW. That car's been not on the pace of Cadillac this season, but it's certainly been the closest out of the other 3 GTPs that aren't the Cadillac. But I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm not a massive fan of the BMW. Don't like its snout. So I'm a lot happier to see the absolutely gorgeous Cadillacs and Acuras out here on track tonight.
Yeah, right now, top 9 are all Cadillac in the GTP class. This is a battle. This is an overall battle right now between Thomas Mork and the 213 of Carlos Casino. The SR Technic, number 213, they're on the same lap overall because of the damage that the 21 suffered earlier in this race. Not going to be much of a battle there, but interesting that popped up.
Yeah, that Acura just getting a really nice run on the GT3 out of there. Both cars, in fact, not putting up much of a challenge, not holding that Acura up at all, as they begin to try and get some laps back on the Go Esports GTP car. There's only a lap between them, Carmen, so if anything happens to that Go Esports car, the Stop and Go Racing Acura is going to be right on top of them.
All right, now you got Euromaster Esports right now leading the way in GT3 Pro by about 7.6 seconds over Carbono Esports JD. Kruma Motorsport have made their way back onto the podium places, and really slow motion racing being driven right now by one of its drivers. Let me see which one it is. It's Istvan Deci.
Yeah, RSM have been involved in an incident recently. We're just having news come through of a drive-through penalty for the number 33 Nix Esports car.
Another one.
For incident responsibility for a collision with the number 229 Really Slow Motion Racing.
Wow. Istvan Deci, I believe that is a Serbian driver behind the wheel, either Serbian or Hungarian. I have to remember. I don't have it on my notes top of my head. I remember we had this conversation at Watkins Glen. But The lead, I see that really slow. I don't know if I'll have to double check on that. I believe that's a Serbian driver, because the mostly Hungarian team is negative delta by Bueller's.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to double check on that. But either way, Lily Slow Motion Racing not far away from the podium place as well. They need a really good result this season. These first 2 races have not been kind to them, and this race has not been kind to them, with them being involved in that incident with Nix Esports. As the Magic Arrow 56 cars come in, Albert Marquez comes down pit lane.
Yeah, that's going to be about on strategy for these guys as well. That's another 32 lap stint though. So looking at that, was it the Mass Devils red car who've been doing 35 to 38 lap stints at this point?
Yeah. Alvaro Garcia.
You know what? Looking at the pace they've been able to pull out, they're looking really, really strong at the moment. I think they're going to be able to knock a stop off here, Carmen. As I say that, they've just gone and doored a GT3. That's not going to help their chances at all.
No, not in the slightest. Really Slow Motion Racing, the car. So one of the cars.
It was really slow motion again.
No, Really Slow Motion is in pit lane.
Ah, right. Okay, sorry.
That's what I was pivoting to. I don't know who it was that they doored before. Really Slow Motion Racing was not it.
Yeah, I thought RSM just got doored by the 7 as I was singing their praises.
That'd be cosmic karma at its worst. Magic Arrow 56 coming out now, keeping Marquez in that car at the moment as things currently stand.
A really long stop for them once again. As I was saying, that 89 litre refuel, brutal. It's the thing that makes it so brutal is there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Like, you see the car go up on the jacks, you see all 4 tyres get changed, and then it gets dropped back down. You look at how many litres you've got left in the tank, and it's on about 40 litres, and you're like, oh, it's only got 50 more litres to put into it. That's fine.
And it's like the most excruciating 20 seconds of your life.
It is, and I'll tell you what, it feels longer than 20 seconds. That's a nice little bit of traffic movement by the number 71 there. I think that's going to the inside of that BMW. Yeah, it's going to give him a perfect run to get past the... Wow, right past the Porsche on entry. And cutting back in front of him just to make sure he doesn't sacrifice his run down to turn 2 here. Brilliant little bit of overtaking.
Kaspers has been on. He's already opened up a almost 10-second gap to the Magic Arrow 55 car of Aaron Avener.
Mm-hmm. Especially as it's gotten darker as well. This is when you expect drivers to start struggling. But it just seems Kaspers has absolutely taken it into his stride and is just flying off into the distance right now. Matched by the number 55 car behind him last lap. But these guys both had traffic. But as we can see by the gap being at 10 seconds, it's not like he's struggling right now.
Keep an eye on this battle of 5. The XPD Emerald Racing car has closed in within 2 seconds of Avener.
You'll love to see it.
So, yeah, Avener struggling a little bit here, whereas the 5 is right now on form, trying to make a challenge for that position. And lap traffic once again will slow down Avener. Approaching the stadium section.
Well, if we have a look at the strategy so far, once again, we are actually coming up to another round of pit stops.
Yeah, that's one
Emerald
car.
are about to complete their 32nd lap of this stint, and we have seen quite a few cars come in on 32 laps.
This is a drive-through by Nix, so...
yeah, that'll be the... Okay. Yeah, that is their drive-through. But I'm keeping an eye on that XBD Emerald car at the moment, because they might be due a pit stop this time by.
Yeah, they were one of the first ones in, and Project Dynamic Green were not far behind now.
Time. Yeah, they've stayed out this time. So that's another 32 laps completed for this car. But definitely due in the next couple of laps. The only car that we've seen go much longer than that at the moment, though, is that number 7 Masked Devils Racing car.
Yeah, right now, keep an eye on this battle here. A very close battle for second place right now as things currently run. Alberto Garcia trying to take second place away.
Yeah, the number 5 car gaining 2 seconds on the car in front of him that lap. Assisted quite a lot by all of the GT traffic, but I can imagine the driver of the 55 car is going to be feeling the pressure from the car behind him now.
You've got to feel the pressure at some point. It's a lot of pressure to be dealing with at this point in time, especially under the lights with so much time remaining too.
Carmen, if you had to pick, whose position would you rather be in right now? Avener's position or Garcia's?
I'd rather be in Avener's position right now.
You prefer being the chased?
I do. I'm a better defensive driver than I am an attacking driver. So that would suit me a little bit better, especially with how long this race is. The self-preservation that you need is a lot higher too. But you have the ability to sort of determine that a little bit better. You talk about Alberto Garcia just set the fast lap of the race.
Wow, what a lap. They are absolutely hustling right now.
Yeah, they're on that second spot.
Yeah, they are on tires that are a whole 5 laps older than the 55 car. But with that track temperature coming down, to go out there and set a 24.3 in race pace, a whole 0.4 of a second faster than our race leader. If I'm in the Project Dynamics green car, I've seen that time pop up on the timing screen, and I'm going, oh dear, we may have a fight on our hands here. It's only going to be a matter of time, Carmen.
Yeah, that's a good old slice of, oh no, I don't like that.
Yeah, see, this is why I'd much prefer to be in Garcia's position. There is nothing I love more than the chase. If you see a car 10 seconds up the road from you, and you have your teammates in your rear like, all right, you're catching them a good few tenths of a second per lap, there is nothing more exciting than that.
This is why I'd rather be in Avener's position, because I know that it's not going to follow me to make the position back up.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
You head off the relay and say, okay, I kept the car clean. You're good. Your turn. And that's the situation right now, because we see a mixture of fastest drivers right now and drivers that are just kind of hoarding on there as XP more racing come in.
There's the pit stop.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow. That's the pressure off Avener's shoulders now for a moment.
A little bit.
They're going to get a good few laps without being hounded by the Emerald car. But if I'm in that XBD Emerald car at the moment, I am very excited for what the rest of this race holds. Their pace looks absolutely electric in these bone cold conditions. Are they doing a driver change as well? Was that a driver swap?
Double checking here. I don't know if it was or not. It is a driver change, I believe. Yeah, Pablo Alvarez getting in that car.
So what's his pace been like so far, do we know?
I don't have it on hand.
That'd be something we have to look into. But he knows his job now. He's been watching his car get on the back of that Magic Arrow car, so he knows all he has to do is get in the car, drive it at the pace it can do. I think they're going to have a really good shot at second place here, Carmen.
I think this is something that you got to keep an eye on, especially if you're in that 55 camp. If you're taking over the car from Avener at some point, I don't think that's happening right now, as Casper comes in right on cue for a pit stop here. I don't expect a driver change here for Casper's. Like right on cue right now, Casper's comes in, and Avener's going to have several laps until he has to come in.
Yeah, we're going to see another at least 5 laps or so from the 55 car here. But also, Carmen, I'm noticing there is a fight that might be developing a little bit further down the field in the GT3s. The gap between the really slow motion car, the 229 car, and Virtual Insanity, although not for position in class, is going to be a fight for position overall. They took half a second out of the Virtual Insanity Porsche last lap, and at this rate are going to be on him in a good few laps or so.
And this will be very interesting, because it's Lemmy Mishk behind the wheel of the Virtual Insanity racing car once more. And it's Istvan Deci behind the car in the really slow motion racing machine, that 229. So these are two quick drivers in GT3 right now. Mishk, we know how superhuman he's been,
but has slightly older tires than the Ferrari behind him. And the car behind him, I believe, is a pro car. So I would expect them to be just that touch faster. Going to be something to keep an eye on, though. But if you're in that Virtual Insanity Racing driver's position, or that team's position, what's your call if that Ferrari gets in the back of you?
There's not a whole lot of point in fighting. And that's where it gets difficult, right? Because like you pride on the line, you're like, okay, it's David versus Goliath. As a team owner, you're sitting here saying, it's not your fight, not your fight. There's no extra points for this. There's no point. It really just kind of depends on how quickly Deci gets up to Mishk, and if Deci can actually like dispatch Mishk very quickly. Because if it's like one and done, then cool, you're fine, because you're not being held up. It's the worry about being held up at this point. That would be, I think, the biggest driving factor, and I don't think that's a super concern just yet.
So the really slow motion car, I feel like they're going to be a little bit aggressive if they can get on the back of that virtual insanity car, because 2 seconds up the road from that Porsche is the AZR Motorsports BMW, who is fighting the RSM car for position. But with that lap lead that the virtual insanity racing Porsche has, I don't think they're going to fight that too hard, Carmen.
I wouldn't.
No, it's definitely not worth it. Lap times last lap for those two cars, though. The really slow motion car has brought the gap down by another 1/10 of a second, but I feel like at this rate, the only way that gap is going to close down a lot more is if we start getting some GTP traffic coming through them.
Yeah, right now we're sitting, let me Michigan leading GT3M. And it's an interesting little battle because it's almost equal distance to the car in front, the AZR Motorsports 220 of Guillermo Costa Race.
I'll tell you, they are absolutely praying right now that those two cars behind them don't pick up the pace. The AZR Motorsport car has done a fantastic job of just maintaining that 2.5, 2.8 second gap to the car behind. But the question is that going to be enough by the time the RSM car gets on the back of that virtual insanity Porsche?
That's a very important question. We're going to find an answer here quickly. Looking back up in the GTP battle, Wesley Casper's back in that car still. And very crucially, the gap between Project Dynamic Green and Mass Devils Red isn't what it was before. That pit stop sequence, it was about 45 seconds. Right now, it's 26.8. So half of it, effectively, in this battle for the front of the field. Magic Arrow has no chance of holding onto this lead unless they can cut out a full gap here.
Yeah, we saw a driver swap for the Project Dynamic Green. No, sorry, Casper's has stayed in the car here.
The Magic Arrow Avenger got out of the car.
Yeah, that's the one. Emerald made the driver swap, that's the one. I've noticed that the XBD Emerald driver has been able to get their tyres up to temperature just a little bit better than the Project Dynamic Green car. For the last couple of laps, they have closed in a little bit. Bar the lap prior, bar the lap prior where the Project Dynamic Green car did pull away by about a second. But that could have had to do with traffic.
Mass Devils Red lead the way. Alvaro Garcia out in front. No, never mind. It's Avenger out in front because Avenger has not yet pit.
Yeah, no, they're due in this in the next couple of laps. So this is the 34th lap of their stint. Still expecting another 15 laps from the Mass Devils Red car. I'm really excited to see how that strategy unfolds for them. If we jump back down the field again, Carmen, that gap is coming down between that battle for 3 that we were talking about earlier. AZR Motorsport have lost a little bit of time to that virtual insanity Porsche, who have been closed in on by the Ferrari again. Lap on lap, they are bringing that car down, that gap down to the car in front, and I feel like that's going to unfold into something sooner than we expect it to. Because look, we've got some GTP traffic coming through on them now as well. Ooh, squeeze to the inside of turn 4 there. That's not going to have let that Porsche get such a good run through turn 5 and down towards the hairpin. It's only going to be maybe a 1/10 of a second or so, but every single 1/10 of a second matters when we're talking about that really slow motion Ferrari trying to get into the car in front slipstream.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting little battle here, and you see that cluster of cars up ahead as well.
Yeah, this is we saw the headlights of a GTP in the background there. That's the 10th place stop and go Acura, who's got to fight their way through this traffic now. A lap behind the 9th place car, but they are about 1.5 seconds faster than the car in front at the moment. If they keep chipping away at this rate, they are going to be able to catch that car in front, Carmen. Yeah,
the window that we're seeing right now between AZR, Virtual Insanity, and really slow motion racing
keeps closing.
It's closing at an equal rate. There's going to be, it's almost like watching a Newton's cradle, and you've just pulled both ends and you're letting them fall. They're going to end up meeting in the middle, and it's going to be very interesting to watch how this turns out because AZR Motorsport's on the wrong side of that.
Absolutely. And as we're watching this fight develop, there is another one developing in the middle of the GTP field. 3.6 second gap between the Nix Esports car and Future Racing Team. The Nix Esports car kind of chunking that gap down bit by bit, half a second faster last lap.
One of the fastest drivers got back in that car. Ruben Sanchez back in that car.
Oh, lovely. Here we go then. This is about to get spicy.
Magic 55, Avener came down pit lane as well.
Yeah, even with like 5.5 hours to go, we're still getting people absolutely pushing and giving it all they've got. It's keeping us entertained though, Carmen, and that's what we're here for.
And you're going to get a lot more entertainment still with, again, over, look at 4.5 hours left, a little under that now in this race. Looking down at all the cars remaining in this race. Have to double check and see. Believe we may be down to about 35 cars, I believe. Is that how much we have left?
Carmen, is that the 55 car in front of the 33 here?
Yes, a lap ahead.
Okay, that gap was looking a little bit tight, but it's looking a bit similar to the gap we've got between the 55 car and the Emerald car. It's down to 1.5 seconds now.
They're all in the same cluster here. Yeah,
that's a spinner.
One of the GT3 cars, Thomas Fisher. I think.
Now, what does that change, Carmen?
So that's Thomas Fisher. Who is Thomas Fisher driving for? I guess is the great question there.
The tricky bit is trying to find them in the list of cars that we've got in front of us.
This is Chicane Online Racing.
Chicane Online Racing, yeah. So the only thing that's going to have done is maybe check up the cars a little bit behind him, but doesn't really affect the race results too much. Going back to that gap that we were talking about now, the Virtual Insanity Racing car has closed down to 0.8 seconds on the AZR BMW, and the really slow motion Ferrari is within a second of the Porsche in front of him.
Yeah.
It's happening, and it's getting tight.
Now pull up the battle box here, all three cars. This is battle for overall positioning here in GT3. Very close.
That Chicane Online Racing car that's just gone off. Getting a little, not intentionally involved, but getting a little bit involved in that fight for overall position. That's not what we want to see.
Mishk losing a little bit of time. So did Dechi. Lost a little bit of time to Guillermo Reyes.
Yeah, it's just going to open that gap up a little bit more now. That was such a shame. That was just getting closer and closer. I was looking forward to that one.
Because the gap was really, it really only opened between Virtual Insanity Racing and AZR. But remember that there's still a little bit more traffic here. AZR is still dealing with traffic as well. So it's not completely over right now.
Speaking of traffic, we have had the Magic Arrow 55 and Emerald car go through some traffic. It's opened that gap back up to 2.7 seconds.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that that gap was rapidly closing from the Magic Arrow team, this XBD Emerald's pace through traffic has given them a little bit of a cushion and made them safer once again.
Gap closing once again for Virtual Insanity Racing and Really Slow Motion Racing. The gap's about half a second now. As they
if they get a good run, this could be it, Carmen. It's going to be tricky to overtake a Porsche coming into the hairpin down here, because with the way that car squats, that engine just putting all of the weight on those rear tires just allows that Porsche to get such a good run up towards the hairpin. And I think even a mid-engine Ferrari is going to struggle to catch him. Their best bet is to get as close as they can during the high downforce sections towards the end of the lap and see if they can get a run into turn one. And that is a lapped car getting in the way as well. That's not going to help the Virtual Insanity car, because they are much faster than the car in front of them right now.
I think that is actually the SR Technic Ferrari. That is a class car.
Are they putting another lap on them?
I believe so.
I know they were already a lap ahead, but my God.
I believe
what a
that
race
is
from
the
this
case.
Virtual Insanity team.
And also, don't forget, there is a GTP coming up on this group as well.
Yeah, no, that's the 11th place car of Carbono Esports Black.
Yeah.
Still a lap behind the other Acura that's still in this race, the stop and go Acura. But depending on what he does here, nah, he's going to wait. He's going to wait. He knows he's not fighting for anything. He doesn't need to rush this. but I can see him getting along, maybe getting alongside that Porsche, slowing him down a little bit. Yeah, he is going to go for it, but the really slow motion racing Ferrari not in a position to try and make a move there because they are stuck behind that SR Technic Ferrari.
A lot of Ferraris right now, but none of them at the front of the field. It's Porsche, BMW, and Porsche and BMW top 4.
Carmen, it goes
GT3.
even further because the top 5 in the GT3 ends off with the virtual insanity Porsche.
Oh yeah, it does. You have to look
the Ferrari is the highest placed the Ferrari in 6th place is the highest placed Ferrari in GT3 at the moment.
And there's so many of them too.
Oh, is that more traffic coming through? Almost dooring that lap down SR Technic Ferrari there. Coming across a little bit too early. Is that the Mass Devils Racing blue car there?
Looks like it. Who is that
trying to see what
through?
the difference is. Yeah, we're trying to see what the difference is between those.
Yeah, that's the Mass Devils Racing red
cars.
car. That's the red car. It's got the red on the
back of the car. See, I thought it was that blue bit on top that was the difference.
Nope, it's the red on the shark fin.
Teams, do us a favor. Take note from us. Paint your endurance cars completely different colors. Is A, it looks pretty, and 2, it makes them a lot easier to distinguish between.
You're telling me. You are telling me. Battle still going on here, battling between Pro and AM class cars for overall positioning. AZR Motorsports is being given a lifesaver right now. Gap's open up to 1.65.
Yeah, Colin, with the way this gap is coming down, it feels like watching glaciers moving. Like, it is happening, but it is happening very much at its own rate. But 0.2 seconds is the gap between these two cars now. So the question is, are we going to see the virtual insanity Porsche kind of make way for this Ferrari as it gets another fantastic run out of that 2-3-4 complex? But honestly, that Ferrari has absolutely no answer for that car.
It's all in the braking too. That gap doubled under braking. You talk about how good that Porsche is under braking. That's why. You can be so much harder on the brakes entering in that Porsche than the Ferrari. The Ferrari will step out a little bit. It's a little bit light, a little bit skittish at the rear. That Porsche is not.
So I was going to say that is the thing about that Ferrari. A very bespoke, almost homologation special built car by Ferrari. I don't know if you've ever seen the way that thing comes apart, but it's even the road car. Oh, hello. There it is. That's the high downforce section, just giving the Ferrari that good run, which gets them through for track position. I don't see the really slow motion car going to fight this very hard though. Like, they are still right on their tail, tucked under the rear wing of that Ferrari.
Yeah.
Let's keep an eye on this though to see if the RSM car, not the RSM car, sorry, the virtual insanity car goes for a move.
So far, phenomenal stuff.
Look at that gap that the Ferrari's already pulled though. That's what I was saying about the way this car's built. It's, if you think back to 2016, when the Ford GTE was brought into the World Endurance Championship and IMSA, everyone said it is a prototype built for GT racing, and that is exactly what's happening with this Ferrari. The grip that thing had in the high downforce corners compared to the Porsche, just allowing it to get up alongside when it made that mistake and then just pull away in that final sector. Like, look at it already. Look at the gap it's already pulled. A whole 0.9 seconds, and we're not even down to the hairpin yet.
Yeah, it's a wild gap that car just immediately pulls.
It's a fantastic piece of kit, Carmen. But now, what that's done is, that's freed up the really slow motion car to go and hunt down that AZR Motorsport BMW for P4.
Yeah, that AZR Motorsports car, now the floodgates are open.
Indeed. A little bit of lappery going on with the GTP traffic as well.
Yeah.
Those two cars, the GTPs that we just watched go through, are about a lap out of sync with each other. But we do have the 8th place car, the Magic Arrow 56. It's actually closing in on the Go Esports car in front of him to put another lap on them.
Car in pit lane. The Mass Devils blue car, the 10 car, in pit lane now.
Yeah, that's Yep, they're going for that fuel-saving strategy as well. That's another 35-lap stint from a Mass Devils car. I don't know how much it's going to help them because they haven't... When everyone else pitted, they didn't really gain anything, Carmen. And there was still 1 minute and 11 seconds behind even the Magic Arrow 55 car.
Yeah. Leading the way, though, the Mass Devils red car being piloted right now by Alvaro Garcia. Nix Esports also came in pit lane as well, and that's, I think, the biggest the competition right now between those two cars. It's in 33, as things currently sit right now.
Yeah, brilliant drive from Garcia so far. But I reckon if we jumped on board with this guy, we'd be able to hear some massive lifting and coasting into that hairpin, because they are going long. This is going to be their 33rd lap of this stint coming across the line here. And we've seen so far the other cars only going about this far. But from what we've seen so far, expect the Mass Devils red car to go at least another 2 laps. Actually, fantastic pace from them as well, because the car behind them, the Project Dynamic Green car, only managing a 126.6 last time. However, the XBD Emerald car, in a little bit of clean air, has pulled another 4 tenths back on them. So I'm expecting them to come out maybe not too close together, but I'm certainly expecting that to be a fight towards the end of the race, if they do manage to cut out an entire stop. And if they don't, they're not going to be putting as much fuel in the car as everyone else on track. So maybe they're going to be even cutting their stationary time down by 20 seconds.
Yeah, a lot of variables right now in this race, and obviously still a lot of race to go, almost to the halfway point here in Hockenheim. You know, you think about how long this race has already been under darkness, so we're almost going to see sunrise conditions at this track with how things are going.
Yeah, we have been in the night for a surprisingly long time at this point. Sadly, I don't think we will get back to some... Ooh, a little bit of a check-up for the number 7 car there. Sadly, I don't think we will get back to sunrise conditions and, you know, being able to see the gorgeous colours on all these cars pop. But even driving at night, it looks gorgeous out there, Carmen.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially in the nighttime conditions, especially in a team event like this. A lot of fun running through the time here. Especially at a track like Hockenheim. It's already a fun track as it is. A lot of passing opportunities here at this track as well. Right now,
Mass Devils Blue have come out of the pits now a whole 44 seconds behind the future racing team.
Yeah.
Like, I really hope they've got some sort of strategy up their sleeve, because I want to see this battle develop. At this rate, I want to see these guys pull off a miracle. Oh no, sorry, I'm getting those 2 cars mixed up. We haven't seen an updated position from the Mass Devils red car yet. When they pitted, the gap was 7 whole seconds. In fact, they haven't even pitted. Losing my mind a little bit, Carmen.
Yeah, they've not yet pit yet. We are on lap, the leaders are on lap 182.
A little bit late on the reporting for this one. The 318 Future Racing Team has had their first warning for an incident with the 274 Analyst Esports car. So if anything else happens that they're at fault for, that's going to be a drive-through penalty for them, Carmen.
Yeah. Yep. Think of it very much like football, yellow card, red card situation. And what that likely means is an incident of dangerous driving that didn't immediately result in contact, but probably pushed a car wide. Is how that typically is determined. If you make immediate contact and you've hindered a car, then you're pretty well getting a drive-through anyway. But if you've just committed a little bit of dangerous driving and you've pushed somebody wide, then...
Just a little bit of dangerous driving, as a trait, of course.
Yeah, a little bit, you know.
Just a little side of dangerous driving. Just a little garnish on top of the racing meal.
I broadcast start cars 5 days a week. That ain't nothing in dangerous driving. Absolutely nothing on dangerous driving. You want to see dangerous driving, tune in later tonight. You'll see dangerous driving.
Oh, I've seen it. I've been a part of it. I have been it, Carmen. I'm very, very used to dangerous driving at this point. The gap, though, between the 229 really slow motion Ferrari and the AZR Motorsport kind of stabilizing around half a second at the moment. I've been keeping an eye on that one. And they've been matching each other's lap times, lap for lap. Like, just looking at the last laps, we've got a 39.4 for the BMW and a 39.3 for the Ferrari, just inching closer and closer. At this point, the driver of the Ferrari can smell the exhaust fumes coming out of that BMW, maybe even the sweat on the brow of the driver in front.
Yeah, a lot of shadowing going on here, and that's going to be distracting as a driver, you know, sitting there, like, you've just got constant headlights in your mirrors, too. You cannot get away from that at all. At this point.
And this is where we're going to see. This is where we're going to see the interesting differences of performance between cars like this. BMW, expect that car to be much better on the brakes down into the hairpin here and into the next couple of corners. But once we get into the arena section, even though that BMW is probably going to pull out an extra 0.2 of a gap, that Ferrari is going to get right back on their tail again because their pace has been absolutely electric in this stint.
Yeah, it's the straight line speed and the straight line braking ability of that BMW versus just the nimble qualities of that Ferrari. And the first half of the lap really favors that BMW, but as you mentioned, that Ferrari's going to really pull it back here, and that's exactly what it's going to do.
Yeah, just watch this as we're coming into the big arena section now. A little bit of slipstream down here into the very, very fast right-hander of turn 11. I expect the Ferrari to close up just a little bit. And we're going to see that gap come down below 0.4 seconds.
Look at how much more track the BMW is using compared to the Ferrari. Having to maximize all of that tarmac, whereas the Ferrari can just keep pointing straight.
I'd expect the Ferrari to maybe be looking after its tyres a little bit more as well, just with how much more downforce it's got. Because that BMW is going to be understeering and scrubbing their front tyres a little bit, but they've got a much better exit. Oh, they're going to get squeezed by that GTP a little bit. A little bit of a checkup is again going to allow the really slow motion Ferrari to close up just a little bit more, but now we are coming back into that section where the BMW is stronger, Carmen.
Yeah, and it's not by much, but it's by enough as that Ferrari's sitting there. But you see just how much it lost there on that exit.
Hey, I think this could be it. If the Ferrari's got enough grunt coming up here.
I don't think it does.
Look how much that gap's opened up.
They sent it in so hard on the entry. They tried to match the BMW braking and they couldn't. And it cost them on the exit there.
Oh, he's peaking. Oh, he's peaking. I don't know if you saw that.
Impatience. He saw that launch out of the hairpin there.
Yeah.
It was like he launched. He stepped on it and then let go of it. And now he's having to let go of it big time because of that GTP car going through.
God, just watching him like weaving around to try and fill the mirrors of the car in front, it's hard being in that position because if you're the BMW, you've got to ignore the car to a certain extent. You have to ignore the car behind you because if you start looking in your mirror for that car behind you, it's not going to end well because you're not looking at the track in front of you. You're not thinking about where you're placing the car.
Ooh,
and that is a big dive down the inside. That's it. That's the opportunity.
And it's been squandered.
Look at the grunt that BMW had out of that corner.
Hold on. Trouble there. Slow down by another Ferrari.
Yeah, big check by the other Ferrari in front of him. I think that's one of the GT3 AM cars.
That's the AM car. That's the Halbside Motorsport car.
Yeah, this fight's getting really interesting. I don't think the BMW is going to be able to get a run to get past this Ferrari for a bit of time now.
Yeah, this is where it gets really, really rough. Mass Devil's Red in pit lane.
I was about to say exactly the same thing. They are side by side coming down into turn 2 now. Ferrari hard on the brakes, leaving plenty of space. BMW is going to cut back on him, almost pushing him on corner exit. But that's going to do it. Does the BMW have anything for them down the straight though?
I think so.
Under the rear wing.
At this.
Look at that tighter line. BMW trying to make the shortest run possible, doing anything they can to stick with the Ferrari.
He's
already gone. Yeah, the Ferrari's already defending the inside. They're going to be side by side once again into this hairpin. Ferrari going a lot deeper on the brakes. BMW cutting back to the inside on the throttle.
Couldn't get back in time.
Too tight an exit. Way too tight an exit. Destroyed their own run coming out of corner exit there, and that is going to be the position for the really slow motion Ferrari there. What a battle!
Right
Carmen.
now, I'm not going to roll with that BMW being able to make it back up here.
No, not at all.
Becci's done a really good job in getting to that position, but Guilherme Reis is done a phenomenal job as well, especially with his GTP cars. Wow!
Yeah, that's always one thing to be careful of. Blimey. That was almost disaster for that Ferrari. They've just spent an entire stint getting on the back of that BMW, and it was almost completely ruined by that GTP.
And we've got trouble. Looks like Leslie Caspers has had an incident here. That's the
Oh,
71.
no.
In the lead of this race still, but it doesn't seem straightforward. We'll see if we can find a replay of this incident. What has happened to the 71?
Here?
This is Wesley
looks like
Caspers.
a little bit too much. Too much curve on the inside, and then
You don't save that very often. You don't get that back.
It's still happening. It's still happening. Reversing right onto where people are trying to avoid him as well. That's a tricky one.
Very fortunate that's not a very traffic area of the track at that point in time. Only one car had to deal with, because that could have been disastrous with how that car came to a stop.
And with that spin, it's so difficult to get back into the rhythm. Wesley Caspers might struggle now, because he's being put under pressure now by the XPD Emerald car, who's only 3.6 behind.
This is another incident. This is the Halpsod Motorsport car we saw before. Got turned by a BMW. That was the SR Technic BMW. And Braga.
Yeah. I think Fabio just checking up a little bit on corner exit there. I don't know whether they thought they were running wide, but the BMW definitely didn't expect it. Just tapping right into the back of him a little bit, and
this is into the stadium section
sending him for a little bit of a spin, unfortunately.
Really fun stuff so far in this race. Really slow motion racing up to the fourth
Everything's
spot.
just kind of happened, hasn't it, Carmen? This is exactly what we've been waiting for the last half an hour, and now everything's just kind of exploding.
Yeah, everything's sort of taken off here. Product Dynamic Green still leading this race, but not by much. 3.6 is the gap, with Wesley Caspers leading the way.
I am quite impressed by how quickly he's managed to recover. The gap was as low as 3.6 seconds. Whoa, is that a bit of contact there coming into turn one?
A lot of contact going into turn one.
What happened there? Is that one of the Magic Arrow cars, the 56?
That is the 33 Nix Esports car, I think.
I took a punt, got it wrong. I'll take the L on that one.
I'm just looking at like where they're on track right now, because the Magic Arrow car, the 55 is not far behind, and the 56 is too far ahead. So I think it's the Nix car that Caspers was trying to get around to put a lap down here.
Still trying to keep themselves in front. I don't know why. What is that car fighting for right now?
I don't know, but that was close, and Caspers was not happy about it.
No, he's dropped back as well. He's lost time. Or is he back in front? No, he's back in front. It's so hard to tell with these cars in these lighting conditions. No, that gap's come back up to 3.5 seconds though. It was as low as 3.2 just before the start of this lap.
Yeah, that was determination and willpower keeping that gap from getting too often much smaller there.
Credit to Caspers, who's done a much better job than I would have in exactly the same position to bring that gap back up to 4 seconds now. He's gained a whole second this lap. Wow.
We'd have to assume that there's not a lot of traffic in this either. Not a lot of traffic in this for Alvarez. Caspers, I think, is just right now driving a little bit possessed.
He's got to be careful of those tires though. With a spin like that and how much he was scrubbing them, those temperatures would have been sky high recovering from that. So you can expect a significant amount of extra tire wear, just even for the rest of that lap. So just we've got to watch the pace of that Project Dynamic Green car coming to the end of the stint here. Still 12 laps to go in it, but we can kind of expect it to drop off a little bit more than it might otherwise.
And Caspers driving possessed here. Got a 4-second gap now over the XPD Emerald car.
The AZR Motorsport car is getting a little bit more used to running in the dirty air now. The gap is mostly being maintained between them and the Ferrari in front of them, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. But we are expecting a round of pit stops coming up in about 10 laps or so for these GT3 cars. So I'll be interested to see if the Ferrari still comes out in front.
We're gonna find out. We've crossed the halfway point in this race. 5 hours to go here in Hockenheim. A phenomenal job so far.
And if the last 5 hours is anything to go by, the next 5 hours are going to be stressful as anything.
Absolutely, it's going to be stressful all around the board. The only car I think that's got it pretty easy right now is Virtual Insanity Racing. Lemmy Mishk 2 laps ahead of the nearest car in GT3M.
Again, what a fantastic race those guys have ran so far. To be an AM class car 6th overall in GT3 and 2 laps ahead of P2 in class. I wouldn't be surprised to see if they get bumped up to GT3 Pro at this rate.
Yeah, any movement like that will happen at the end of the season, so they're going to let them see out the current run. This team won the 8 hours, the virtual Sandy Racing won the 8 hours Watkins Glen. Didn't do quite so well in the 4 hours of Interlagos, but coming back in right on form here in Hockenheim. The second of the 3 major races this season. Obviously the finale at Spa, the 12-hour race in December, with a race in Magny-Cours in between.
Yeah, and especially with a series like this, it's so important how you manage to bounce back from DNFs especially, but any poor result can weigh quite heavily on you. So if you can bounce back from that and get straight back on the horse and drive at your absolute best, that's what makes, you know, a championship win and run come together. And these guys at this rate look like they're having quite an easy time of it. Trying to keep an eye on some of these gaps now. XPD Emerald maintaining a 4-second gap to the car in front of them. Number 71 hasn't really pulled away much, but they are doing a really, really good job of staying in the lead here. Magic Arrow still 55, still 14 seconds behind the car in front of them. Half a second slower than the Emerald car last lap, but they're also pulling away from the car behind them. Masked Devil's Red on their super long fuel saving run. 26.9 last lap compared to Magic Arrow 55's 25.9. In the GT3 field, the closest fight we've got down there is a 4-second gap between the AZR Motorsport car and the really slow motion Ferrari. What a fantastic, they're setting their personal best of the race. In fact, the 229 really slow motion Ferrari just gone 38.1, a whole 2 seconds faster than the car behind them.
Yeah, they turn on the jets.
Honestly, there's a lot to be said about how much clean air can just really wake you up and get you going again. And if I'm the driver of the 229 right now, I'm fired up because I've made up 2 places on track, and you can tell just from the lap times how awake Esteban is in that car, absolutely taking advantage of the pace that car has.
And Esteban's been in that car for a while too. Like, he's been in that at least for an hour and a half at this point.
Wow, that's impressive. At this rate, he's going to be chunking down the gap to the Karuma Motorsport Porsche in front of him. It's 1 minute and 4 seconds, but that was a whole second that lap, a whole second and a half even, and with still 5 hours to go here, that gap that the Karuma Motorsport car has might not be safe.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to say really anybody's safe right now with how this race has been so far. We're down to 35 cars from 44 starters. Actually, I think we've lost another one. I think the Rider Engineering 76 is officially out of this race too.
They retired.
I believe so. I think they made it to 137 laps. I don't see their timer continuing. They were in pit lane for an extended period of time. I think Overtake, their debut came to an end on lap 118. The F Racing LMDH is out. That number 99 Cadillac is out. Carbono Esports is still rolling at the moment. That's 7th place in GT3 AM. And then Rider Engineering is out of the race as well. Pit stops right now, long pit stops for repairs, help Slide Motorsport and pick up the pace. Both them and AM. So Carbono Esports trying to pick up some positions there. That's why they're still going.
I do feel sorry for the Overtake car. They were doing such a good job to be 4th in class on debut, but then as I was talking about it, not 2 minutes later, they got taken out of this race. Carmen, that might be my first actual curse of the commentator, you know?
You're already getting up to speed on all the things you need to do as a commentator. You're developing your own broadcast curses. You're slowly getting up to speed. Proud of you.
It's almost terrifying. Almost terrifying.
There's a point where it goes from being terrifying to comedic, because it's almost you just think it and it happens. it gets, once you do this as long as I have, it's a trip. It is a wild trip.
It's a lot of fun though, because there's nothing I love more than sitting and talking about things that I'm passionate about, and multi-class racing, sim racing are two of those things. So it's been an absolute pleasure to be in the broadcasting booth with you so far tonight, Carmen. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, a lot of fun having you in the booth. Obviously, not too often many people, especially in the AVN sphere, that know as much about sports cars, especially for a 10-hour race like this here at Hockenheim. It's going to be a lot of fun having you on board here.
Well, it has been so far, and you only have to put up with me for another 5 hours. Also, we've got some race control messages coming through. The number 21 stop and go racing car has been given a drive-through for an incident with the pick up the pace. What car are they driving?
The pick up the pace. That's one of the cars in pit lane. That's one of the AM cars in pit lane. That's 369.
Yeah, that'll be what's happened to them then, as well as a warning for the number 71 Project Dynamic Green car for a little bit of, I assume, contact with the number 56 car, pushing them wide slightly. We did see that developing on track. The 71 Project Dynamic Green car. Yeah, that was to been the contact at turn 1 that we saw, Carmen.
That had to have been the contact at turn 1, yeah.
That's not good. Oh, and another one's coming through as well. The 213 SR Technic car drive-through for an... yeah, that's another one we saw on the exit of the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Drive-through for contact with the 327. How on earth do you say that, Carmen? How Besod Motorsports Ferrari?
So technically, so it's I say Hauptsod. It's Hal B. It's like it's supposed to be an acronym. It's like Hal and then Blue Screen of Death. But I just say Hauptsod. It's just how I pronounce it. It's an interesting name.
I'd love to know the story behind that. I might have to get in touch with the drivers and find out where that one comes from. Oh, I see a flash of lights in anger there. I don't think that Porsche was very happy with how that GTP got past him.
So a couple of penalties coming through here. We already talked about them, but they're popping up on your screen now. G13 with the drive-through, as well as the 21. So,
I mean, that's it. That's what you get with league racing. If you're in public sessions, the most you get is a drop in safety rating and maybe a protest and a warning. But if you drive like that in something like this with live stewarding, you are going to pay for the mistakes that you make, intentional or not. There's another late move from Wesley Caspers there. Again, super duper aggressive with traffic. He's done it again on that Ferrari. Is he going to go for another late move on this one? Looking to the outside, it becomes the inside for the final 2 corners. Yeah, literally driving, as you said, Carmen, like a man possessed. Really, really impressive, aggressive driving here. Almost reminds me a little bit of me.
Good. See, I love driving the GTP cars. I'm just not good at it. So I never had that mentality. Wow.
Oh, taking advantage of the...
Talk about setting it up.
Yeah, taking advantage of the Ferrari going wide there. Those are always the sort of situations that you're looking for when you're driving the GTPs. Because you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to go for this move at this point. But if the car that you're planning on overtaking in front of you goes deep into a corner and they've got a poor run, you can take advantage of that and go through a lot sooner than you might have otherwise thought.
Absolutely. The thing about it, Casper's
one of those things.
Casper's up at a giant gap as a result there. Just taking those advantages, as you mentioned. Alvarez now almost 8 seconds adrift. Yeah, wow.
Impressive driving again. From Caspers to recover from that half spin. He's actually only a couple of seconds off opening the gap. Whoa! Oh, very loose back end from that Ferrari there. That's got to have scared the XPD Emerald driver of Alvarez there. Hate it when things like that happen, but it's not going to help them in their crusade to try and catch the overall leader here.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't help right now, and this is a direct fight. They're on the same strategy call right now. Obviously, XPD Emerald Racing came in a lap earlier, but they're on the same exact strategy call in terms of what their mileage is going to be here. So for Alvarez right now to lose this amount of time, the only thing that he can hope is that Caspers comes in and hands it off again in the next hour to AJ Stravato.
Yeah, that's when it comes down to the pace of the second drivers. It's as soon as you get through qualifying and you put your first drivers in the car, you already know what sort of pace you're going to have relative to everyone else. But when it gets interesting is when the drivers swap out and you get your second drivers in, and sometimes your third drivers, and then it's how they all compare to each other. Because I'm thinking back to the start of this year when me and my team ran the 6 hours of Silverstone. Dominic Englick's my teammate, qualified the car, and his pace compared to the rest of the field was about sixth fastest, but because he qualified the car and then started the race, everyone was like still the same pace relative to each other, so the gaps opened up as you'd expect. But then we swapped our second driver into the car, in this case it was me, and the pace difference that I had compared to everyone else was just a different league. So we went from 6th on the road to the 3rd on the road within a stint, just again based on the pace of the second drivers. But that's just one of those multi-class endurance racing things, and it's how it unfolds.
It is so much that goes into multi-class racing, and just especially with this there's a different level, a different layer too when it's like a league racing competition too. Like it's a lot different than what it is like doing the officials, because with the officials, like, you can see a lot of new faces at any one time. It's not a community event. You're dealing with these people all the time. You get to study these people and figure out who's good, who's not, and try to figure out what their general scheduling looks like here.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different aspect. Trying to figure out, because at this point, SPWR Racing, Pablo Alvarez, he knows exactly what Dynamic Green is capable of doing. He knows what Caspers can do. He knows what Stravado can do in that car. What can you do to maximize the opportunity for your teammates at this point? Because it's obvious right now that he cannot match Caspers.
It's minimizing time loss. That's it. That's what it comes down to. It's what you always tell your drivers is, here's your target lap time. Here's what the guy in front of you is doing. Hit this, minimize the gap, or minimize the time loss, because we think that once we swap drivers, we can close that gap back down. Like, think about real life racing. Think about the WEC. You have drivers in there that when they get in the car, even the commentators, fans, other drivers, your reaction is, whoa, here we go. This is about to get exciting. And it's the same in sim racing. It's exactly the same. It's being given the opportunity to experience the same feelings that they do in real life on a much smaller budget. It's what really gives, like, sim racing its magical qualities.
Absolutely. It's been a wild ride so far in this race. So many different cars still in this. Still about 44 cars started this race, and we're down to, I believe, 32 is what we've sort of fallen down to. Halpsod Motorsport in pit lane. They're 30th overall, 5th in GT3, and pick up the pace, I believe, may be out.
Sorry to interrupt, Carmen. The Virtual Insanity Racing car is just past the AZR Motorsport BMW on track. The 220 had dropped back significantly on track from the really slow motion Ferrari, and the gap was at 10 seconds. But their pace has really dropped off towards the end of their stint here. Have they got some damage, or are they dealing with tyre wear as these two cars are side by side coming down to the Spitska hairpin once again?
I'm not entirely sure what's gone on here.
Little side by side through the corner. Oh, what is going on here? I'm concerned for that BMW. They are not on pace at all right now. Maybe some driver fatigue, bit of damage, tyre wear.
Possible. I'm not seeing anything on our event screen that says that anything significant's gone on. It could be fatigue right now. Guillermo Costa Race has been in that car for a while.
Yeah, we are expecting this car in a couple of laps as well. They're on lap 34 of their stint. We've seen GT3s going 34 and 35 laps so far this race, maybe even a couple stretching it to 36. But I'm very much expecting a driver change coming up here soon, Carmen.
Yeah, Mishk is fresh in that car, whereas Guillermo Resk has been in that car for over 2 hours. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a huge difference right now. And I think right now you're seeing what that fatigue looks like. It is very real. And actually, Mishk comes in first.
There you go. Yep, smart. I think if I'm in their position, you're not fighting for anything with that car in front of you. Your only job is to keep that car safe and keep that car clean, especially with a 2-lap lead over every single car in your class.
Yeah, they have been absolutely wild. Nick Kirsten started off that car, handed it to Lemmy Mishk, who put it in that position where it's at right now. Philip Spez did a really good job just maintaining it and letting the race play out. Mishk in that car now to manage things as things certainly sit. But Guillermo Costa Rest is not having a very fun end of his stint. He knows that his stint's coming close to an end here, but he is struggling right now. Fatigue has got to be setting in on that number 220 car.
Indeed, it's really difficult in times like this as a team owner, a team leader, because if the pace of the driver that's currently in the car is too slow, that it's hurting your race more than stopping early would hurt your strategy, you've got to make that call. Do you stick with the strategy, or do you bring this driver in and get them the heck out of that car?
I've been in that position. The year we won the Daytona 24, we had a driver that was sick. So our position was we had to get him through his minimum drive time, that drive share. And we, as soon as we got into that number, it was like, okay, we got to get you out of the car. And
yeah, look, these guys are really struggling to stay in front of that lapped Porsche behind them as well.
Yeah.
Is that I believe that might be the Chicane Online Racing Porsche behind them.
Yeah, the 242.
That they're pitted, they're coming in. Yeah. It's on strategy, and I don't blame them for sticking out the strategy. But if I was them, I might have come in maybe a lap or two earlier just to get that driver out of the car.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think they could, reasonably. I think they've given up what they could. I don't think they're in a lot of danger right now because, again, you look at the easier motorsport car, they're not losing a ton. Like, obviously, losing out to really slow motion racing isn't a lot of fun, but they weren't losing to the cars behind too often much, and their closest battle was not even in their class.
No, they're still
safely in the top 5 right now, and that's what they wanted.
They're a minute ahead of their next car in class.
Yeah, they're going to get this driver to be fine.
They don't even have to worry about VIR. They're not their concern right now. But speaking of strategy, we've got to get an eye on the GTP field because the number 71 Project Dynamic Green car is on lap 34 of their stint. And in fact, they did 34 laps last stint. So unless they've been saving fuel this time out, I think we're about to see a round of pit stops for them and XBD Emerald.
And XBD Emerald is already in.
They've pitted, they've pitted. Lovely. That's sorted then.
They're in pit lane right now. And very interestingly, you talk about this pit stop battle. Dynamic Green's got a 38-second gap. They've almost got a pit stop clear.
Wow.
That's a huge ordeal. That is massive.
They're getting held up by the Carbono esports car here, like out the box right now. They're staying out. Did not expect that, Carmen. I didn't expect them to go another lap here. No. That's going to be a 35-lap stint for this car. That could be the longest they've gone all race.
They don't do that very often, but right now they're on it.
I think that's going to help them because they've got it's a relatively busy track in front of them. But judging by the gaps, they might be able to clear most of the GT3s in front of them before they actually get slowed down by them.
Well, that's the thing I think that they're at as well. Like, they've got a huge amount of confidence now, knowing that they've almost got a full pit stop clear of that 7 car. That, I think that was time. I don't know if they were planning on having that time there, but they've got it right now, and it bodes well for them for the rest of this race if they can keep that pace going. Now, the issue right now is how long is Casper's going to be in that car again before Stravato takes back over? Because we know that there's going to be at least 2 more driver changes because they'll give it to Stravato again, and then they'll end it with Casper's.
You've got to time this one right. Judging by how long we've got left in the race, maybe keep Casper's in for one more and then do a driver change. It just depends how long you want Casper's in at the end of the race. If I'm in the 71 team right now, I want to give Casper's a little bit of a rest here, just keep him fresh. I mean, it doesn't look like he's struggling with fatigue at the moment, but if you can keep him fresh, keep him fed, keep him hydrated, he's going to be your best bet come the end of the race.
I would keep him in for one more stint. I think I'm with you on that one. I think I keep him in for one more stint.
Watch for this now, ladies and gents, as he gets hard on the brakes for the 80 km an hour pit lane speed limit, pulls off to the right into his pit box. Are we going to see a driver change here?
That's the big question. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to give him a break here and put Stravato in that car. but I feel like you keep Caspers in for one more stint, but they will change. They will go back to Stavato.
Driver change.
Yeah.
Is that both cars now, XPD Emerald and Project Dynamic, done a driver change this time?
Looking to see what XPD... no, Alvarez still in for XPD Emerald.
Emerald's just come out of the hairpin, thundering down towards turn 7 in the Mercedes-Benz Arena now.
Yeah.
How close is that gap going to be here?
I don't think it's going to be super close. The gap, because they were almost clear to Mass Devil's Red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sergio Bora back in that car now as well. He was really struggling at the start of this race, but he was struggling with damage.
Yeah, but he was the pole sitter too, so we know that he can do it.
Mm-hmm. And if we can jump back and watch the now third place car now, we've got Alvarez coming through the final sector. A lot of traffic. The third place car is moving. Stavato is moving. He's back up to speed and back in front, back out in front of the GT3. If he was stationary for another couple of seconds there, yeah, it might have cost him a little bit. But that's a really, really good gap.
Yeah, Alvarez just now through turn 1. Stravato's already on the back straightaway.
Yeah, he's got really unlucky with the traffic there. Project Dynamic Green managing to get a couple of cars between them and the car they are closest to at the moment. That's going to give them a good little bit of breathing room. Hopefully Stavato is going to have the pace to maintain or lose minimal time. But we're going to have to see how the rest of this race unfolds.
This is going to be a super interesting stint coming up here, because a lot of drivers, we expect driver changes coming up here in the next hour. It's a matter of who you put in this car and who you set up to finish. Because you're going to, almost everyone at this point, you've got 2 driver changes left per car. Just about.
Speaking of driver changes, did we see a driver swap for the AZR Motorsports car?
AZR Motorsport car, the 220. Yes, we did. Pedro Oliveira Vigario is in the car now.
Good call from that team.
This is his first time in that car.
Oh, really?
So he is fresh. He's super fresh in that car now.
Well, that car has a fastest lap time so far of a 38.1, so, and we got a 39.1 from Pedro in his first couple of laps. Maybe he's still getting up to pace, but he really needs to be on the same pace as that fastest lap to catch the cars in front of him. Because we already know that really slow motion Ferrari, ironically, is absolutely flying right now.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Right now, AZR Motorsports with Vigaria behind the wheel. Obviously, let him get up to speed, because I'm assuming that he is completely fresh here in this race. He's not had a lot of time to get sighted in. 1:39.09, but again, still dealing with some GTP cars getting through here.
Maintaining that pace, definitely something to keep an eye on, though.
Yeah, I got to make sure you got to keep an eye on it. I think at this point, the biggest question mark would be over, where's the SR Technic 213 car? The 213 car is only a little bit quicker right now, and they've got a lot more experienced bodies in that car.
Yeah, still a whole minute behind them as well on track.
So right now, Oliveira's got a little bit of time. Like, obviously, you want to catch the car in front, but right now your objective primarily is just keep the car safe. So I think letting Pedro sort of just tiptoe around, not a bad idea at the moment, especially sitting in the top 5 right now. That's a really good haul of points for a race like this.
Yeah, I'd definitely take that if I was in their position. Now, earlier on in the race, last stint, I was talking about the pace of the number 56 Magic Hour car. They were about 1 minute and 4 seconds behind the car in front of the... they were about 1 minute and 5 seconds behind the Nix Esports car. That gap's now down at 52 seconds. So that team have been doing a really good job of closing down that gap to the car in front of them.
They put their fastest driver back in that car, Fakete back in that car for the 56.
Yeah, like the last lap or so, they have... Oh, no, there it is, a 25.7. That's another 0.3 taken out of the Nix Esports car. Gap now down to 51 seconds. As I said earlier, at this rate of knots, they're going to be on him.
Yeah, you got enough time left. You can try to make some inroads on that. Yeah.
But then again, the Nix Esports car only 15 seconds behind the Future Racing Team Cadillac. Their pace, the Future Racing car is slower than the car behind them at the moment. I think we're going to see another situation where we've got 3 cars closing in on each other once again, Carmen.
It's very possible right now. Very, 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 very possible.
Magic Arrow 55's in.
Yep.
The 55 car has now stopped. Mass Devils now goes back to the lead. That's a short stint for the 55 car. They only did 33 laps that time round.
Keeping Thomas in that
strategy call?
I don't know if it's a strategy call or not.
I think if they'd have stayed out, they would have been in the grid with traffic.
Might have been, because Avener's not in that car anymore. It's Thomas back in that car.
He was quick earlier this race.
Yeah, he was
challenging
Project
Dynamic Green. He was looking really, really strong all day today. So now he's back in the car. I think we're going to see the gaps come down a touch at the top of the GTP field, which is very exciting.
Yeah, Stravato's got to manage, and it's very interesting how some teams are putting their fastest drivers in not at the end of the race, but in the late middle stage. Very interesting how this has turned out.
Yeah, part of that could come down to who you think is going to be best to maintain gaps towards the end of the race. I think if you're in the position of the XPD Emerald car, you're going to want someone in now who can maintain the gap, and then put someone in at the end that can close the gap to the Project Dynamic Green car. Whereas I think if you're in the Project Dynamic Green car, you're thinking exactly the same thing. So that's why they put Stravato in now and saved their other driver for later on in the race. Because we saw the pace that car can do. So just give him a rest now and keep him fresh for the end of the race.
Yeah, this is sort of what you say, okay, take a nap. Just relax a little bit.
Well, I think fortunately for most people here, a lot of them are European based, so it's a little bit early for a nap. We've only been going for 5 hours here. I'd expect them to be a little bit more hardy than struggling to stay awake at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night.
It's 3 p.m. for me, and I can take a nap, that's for sure.
To be fair, you've been up since really early this morning.
So I woke up, so I forgot that Europe was in daylight savings time. So I got up an hour earlier than I needed to.
Oh, Carmen.
And that was after I traveled to Texas and back earlier this week, so I still haven't caught up on sleep yet.
You did, yeah.
It's been hardcore on the struggle bus today, and it's gonna be tonight because I won't be able to sleep until midnight tonight.
Yeah, because you've still got I've got
an entire
broadcasting to do.
Yeah.
And to start the day with a 10, 11 hour broadcast. It's hardcore, Carmen. It's hardcore.
Yeah, a little bit. Luckily, we don't have to have this issue for Spa, which is a 12-hour race coming up in December. That won't be the case when that happens because the Saturday Night Truck Series that we broadcast here. Yeah, you see Stravato being very bold in the stadium section there.
Yeah, I think Stravato's a little bit more aggressive than his teammate. Wow, that was a touch dicey.
I think he's feeling it right now because he's closing in that gap on the 7 car. Closed off 2 seconds.
They're very off strategy with each other at the moment, but anytime that Stravato can close down on the 7 car now, it's going to be useful for the end of the race.
It's a very useful, that is super important.
Yeah, especially if Mass Devils can cut out that extra stop. So it's another 37 lap stint for them last stint, and which means they're just over halfway through their current stint. Fantastic job from them though to be able to maintain mid to high 26 pace, where other guys are doing low 26s in traffic, and still keep the fuel. There's a lot of setup work and practice that can go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mass Devils Red, they are a huge threat right now to Private Dynamic Green and XP Emerald, because right now the 71 and the 5 are the ones that are head to head as far as strategy goes. They're the ones they're going toe for toe right now. Mass Devils Red is doing something really unique and interesting in a way that no one else has done yet.
Oy, that was a bit tight there, Stravato.
Yeah, he's not afraid of it.
That aggression, I'm worried that might come to bite them at some point in this race, because he is being extraordinarily aggressive. I'm concerned that maybe a GT is going to end up turning down on him, maybe not intentionally, but I don't know. You've got a gap, buddy. You can use it and keep the car safe.
Well, I think the thing is for him, I think there's a little bit more comfort knowing that there's been a significant amount of attrition in this race so far. We started with 34, we're down to 31. That is a significant difference in terms of how many cars are left. You have more space, and especially if you're Stravato and you think that most of the cars left are cars that you can trust, you may have that confidence. That's a huge factor as well that I don't think people talk about a lot because we don't typically see it a lot. The confidence in who you're around and who you're racing with, that is a lot of confidence and a lot of scouting as far as who's on track at any given time. Just being able to put that confidence into who's around you that you can make those moves, because that's a lot of faith not only in yourself but in everyone around you.
Yeah, that comes back to what you were saying earlier, Carmen. Especially with league racing, when you're racing against the same drivers week in, week out, you can build that sort of profile of all the different drivers, all the different teams, to figure out who you can really send it, who you can really trust it to send it on, and you might have to be a little bit more cautious around. Or maybe Stravato's just got some really big bouts of bravery on him and just doesn't really care what the GT3s are going to do around him.
Well, and you know what? He's forcing that 7 car to respond. That 7 car is responding now time-wise. That 7 car's realized that 71 is not going to slow down here at all. So now they've cranked it up 25.1 the last lap for the Mass Devil's red car.
Yeah, the clean air definitely helping them. They have a really, really big bout of it last lap round, whereas obviously the Project Dynamic green car that we are following has been dealing with traffic the entire time. 2 seconds slower than the Mass Devil's red car last lap.
Yeah.
All that time that he closed down earlier is now completely gone out the window.
Yeah, just like in a snap of the fingers, it's gone like that. That's how Mass Devil's red. They were paying attention. That 71 is their threat right now, just like the 7's a threat to 71. Like, those two are working on it so hard right now. It is those two nose to nose right now, but it's a strategy call game right now between those two. Mm-hmm. Because
those are the effects, and it's all those multi-class racing that's going on here. Just that, again, that traffic can harm you just as much as it can help you.
And there's still a lot of racing left. A lot of things can happen still. We're in the darkness here at Hockenheim. And right now,
the seconds tick by, under 4.5 hours to go here. And again, these gaps they're pretty much being maintained, and it's just gonna come to a head so quickly before we even know what's happening. Although Carmen, GT3 fields, AZR Motorsport, Pedro's picked up the pace a little bit more now and is 0.2 seconds behind the number 359 Virtual Insanity Racing Porsche.
I already beat you to it. Watching it right now. Vigario right behind. It's a little over half a second.
How's his pace been? Has he brought it back down? Or is he still 39.0? He's still 39.0. Having to back off a little bit for that GTP that came through. But both of these cars are closing the gap to the really slow motion racing Ferrari.
The really slow motion car has dropped off a lot. The slow motion car is in 140.3.
Ooh, that's not good for them. 39.2 and a 39.3 for the cars we're currently following.
Importantly, you look further up the grid here, 39.4 for the 289, the Carmen Motorsport car. Yeah. So they're gaining on the 3rd place car as well. The cars that they're not gaining on are the cars that have been leading this race for almost the entirety of this race. Euromasters and Urbano Esports JD, they are in the 138s right now. So they're pretty well in their own court.
We haven't really talked much about the guys at the front of the GT3 field because all of the battling's been happening behind them. Yeah. But we've got to compliment the Eurosports Esports car, who of this entire race just been pounding out the lap times. Like, it was really close for them at the start of this race, and it was really fun to watch them fight with everyone else on track. But the consistency and pace they've had between each of their drivers has just allowed them to slowly build that gap over the course of this race, and they've given themselves a really, really nice 30-second buffer to the Carbano Esports JD car behind them.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting battle here between, especially for Euromasters, because they started on pole and they never really got to enjoy it at the start. They come all the way back from the back of the field. They've gotten back to the front and done a great job so far. Carbano Esports also done a great job. They kind of just let it fall into the lap with issues with the leaders, with 0-7 Racing and peaky drivers being taken out of this race early. They got to enjoy a lot of success there, and right now they just kind of get to revel in the spoils because no one's matching them right now. SR Technic kind of is the other main BMW team. But SR Technic's been in trouble so much already this race, they're kind of out of it right now. They're almost a full lap behind this battle for top 5.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting to watch these GT battles unfold, and a lot of drama in this class as well. The lone Mercedes of peaky drivers, I've just got that joke. Yeah. The lone Mercedes of peaky drivers being up there, fighting with the absolutely fantastically quick Porsches and BMWs. It was really, really cool to see, but just one of those racing things where they lost the back end on a curb. took out another 2 cars and just completely changed the shape of the race, their own race and others.
Absolutely. We're now getting down to 31 cars in this race that are still rolling. So attrition has sort of taken hold pretty firmly as things currently run.
It's really, really hard to see what's going on out there on track at the moment, especially with how pitch black it is. And if we're struggling to see, the drivers are struggling to see as well. Especially if you're in a fight, you are not focusing on what's behind you in the rear view mirror. I doubt AZR Motorsport are looking much behind them at the moment. Maybe they've got a couple of guys on the team who are keeping an eye on activities in the rear view mirror. But if I'm Pedro Vigario right now, my eyes are firmly fixed on the rear wing of that Porsche in front.
Yeah, trying to find a way around that leader in GT3M. Again, not a class battle between Vigario in the 220 and the 359 of Virtual Insanity Racing. Not a class battle by any means, but a fight for overall in GT3. A little bit of pride there.
The RSM Ferrari has picked up the pace a little bit more now. They've brought their pace back down into the 39s when they were in the 40s earlier, which is enough to just maintain that 10-second gap to the cars behind. Honestly, after getting past both of those cars, they've done a really good job to just pull off into the distance and maintain that gap to keep on top of that top 4.
Absolutely. Approaching the 6-hour mark in this race. We're going at it for, at this point, this stream's been live for over 7.5 hours. I appreciate you. For everyone tuning in, this is Carmen, Sienna, and alongside me, Taylor Mills, for the 10 hours of Hockenheim. We're going to step away for a quick second.
Watching these cars go side by side.
Yeah, we're going to step away for a second to take a hydration. We'll see if the AZR Motorsport team can make this pass happen on Virtual Insanity Racing. Before we do that, now it's starting to pick up here. AZR Motorsport really wanting to get through here.
This is where the Porsche is going to be really strong. They do have a GTP coming through on them. I think it's going to get past both of them.
Yeah, and Mish made sure to hold off the inside lane too.
Yeah, VIR holding that inside line there perfectly just to avoid anything, opening up anything for the AZR Motorsport car behind him. But now we are again getting into that sector where that BMW is going to be strongest. Out the final corner, is the AZR going to be able to get right on it? It is. Oh, hang on, a little bit wide. Lost a little bit of time, but still under the rear wing of that Porsche. Coming through turn 1 now, again, nose to tail. Big braking zone coming up for this BMW. Really good on the brakes with all that engine weight on the front. You can put a lot of brake balance on those front brakes and it can just handle it.
And both these cars really good under braking. So, Mish got a really good acceleration.
Yeah, look at the exit from that Porsche, as I was talking about earlier. Just the way, again, it's the engine weight being put right on those rear tires, giving it all the grip that they need, all the way on the run down to the Spitzke hairpin. But the BMW looking to the inside, is drawing alongside. It's going to get through, I think, here, Carmen.
Oh, but he went out
way
wide.
Too wide.
Way too wide there. Yeah, you telegraphed it perfectly, dude. Libby Mishk.
Yeah, brilliant heads-up driving from the Porsche driver there. Just letting that BMW send themselves a little bit deep, cut back to the inside, use your racing line, and bugger off into the distance a little bit.
And that's where that's where that weight difference is at. The Porsche having the rear weight difference, it could almost act like a little bit of a parachute, whereas that BMW is still very front heavy. Sort of carried itself too deep to the corner, and the Porsche said, "Thank you, I'll have it back, thank you."
The engine weight being in the front of that BMW does help them on the brakes, because you can get a lot of braking performance out the front tires, and that's where you really want it. If you have a mid or rear engined car, you're going to find the weight transfer onto those front tires is a lot more difficult to manage, but with all of that weight shifting forward onto the front tires in the BMW, you'll find you can brake 10-20 meters later than the likes of a Ferrari or a Porsche.
Can keep an eye on this battle.
But yeah, where the Porsche and the Ferrari really come into their own is for the Porsche, those corner exits. For the Ferrari, all those high-speed corners. So you get that really nice mid-engine balance that really helps through the final sector here. In fact, interestingly, it's really cool to see that the 3 cars that we've still got left in this race get their lap times in really different ways. You see the Porsche's being really strong on corner exit as the VIR car has to go a little bit wide to avoid contact. with the AZR Motorsport BMW, who, as I say, really good in those braking zones, and the Ferrari really good in those high-speed corners. That's why I love GT3 racing. As much as I don't enjoy driving it myself, it's absolutely fantastic to watch, just because of how different all the cars are.
Yeah, they're spectacularly different. They have their own little characteristics, and that's all part of the fun. Can't wait for more of those GT3 cars to come into the fold. Obviously, we saw 4 cars technically. We haven't seen any Audis or Lamborghinis. Obviously, we're getting the new Audi R8 GT3 Evo coming up here very soon. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that thing with the V10 engine in the back of it is probably going to be the best sounding GT3 on the track.
Yeah.
I've heard one of those things in real life, sat in the grandstand at Le Mans in 2022, and it's that pit lane straight is just this completely enclosed little cave. So you hear all the BMW, oh hang on, BMW looking for a move to the inside of P2, hard on the brakes, drawing alongside the Porsche again. Does he go deep?
Contact.
No, he blocks the apex perfectly. Yeah, perfect parking of the bus from the AZR Motorsport car there. Getting some clean air on the front of his car now, and blocking off the run on corner exit for that Porsche. Carmen, I think that's going to seal the deal for that move.
We'll see. There's going to be at least one more chance at an attempt to respond to this.
I think we'll see it here coming into the Mercedes-Benz Arena. The GTP may play a part in how this works out.
GTP playing it nice.
Getting really held up though, and now it's going to get that ton of weight moving again. With a generous 700 horsepower, but even so. Yeah, that BMW just pulling away a little bit on the brakes. But this is the sector where the Porsche is going to come back into it again. This battle has been absolutely fantastic to watch so far, because it's not even position, and these two have been just going at it and giving each other everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, Vigario 5th in GT3 Pro, Mish getting the 359, the leader in GT3 AM.
Mm-hmm. And that gap to the really slow motion Ferrari in front, still 10 seconds. The fact that it's still 10 seconds when these two have been fighting is really impressive. That either means the RSM car has kind of dropped off a bit, or these two have just been going super rapid. 38.9 for the really slow motion Ferrari last lap, and a 39.0 for the AZR Motorsport BMW that just overtook another car. Insane.
Yeah, I think the floodgates are open on the pace of that car now.
A little bit wide on the exit of turn 2 there. Going to hinder his run through turn 3 and 4, but I don't think it's going to leave him vulnerable to that Porsche, because that Porsche is just dropping back a little bit once again. Oh, hold on, Carmen. The fight for P7 might be on. Nix Esports, 0.6 seconds behind the Magic Esports 56 car.
Yeah, Takete and Blank.
Yeah, let's see how this unfolds. They're coming into traffic again. That Magic car isn't going to get so good a run out the corner here because of the BMW in front. That is going to let the Nix Esports car close up just a little bit more. Gap still at 0.6 seconds, but there is some more traffic coming up here, Carmen.
Yeah, a lot more traffic coming up here, so this fight's far from over.
He's going to have to check up.
That's the 242.
He's going to have to check up. He can't go for it. Neither of them can go for it, really. Gap down to 0.1 seconds now.
There's the tail.
Nix Esports right under the rear wing of the Magic Arrow 56 car.
And you know what? AZR Motorsports and Virtual Sandy Racing, they're back nose to tail again.
They are indeed.
So they got battles everywhere.
To make a move in this sector is here, but again, another checkup. Can the Nix Esports car get a run out this corner and pinch? Oh, it's going to close that door really quickly. He's going to have to make an aggressive choice to try and get past here. Pinching it between the GTs, big old checkup once again. The Nix Esports car gets a good exit here.
There's the battle for the GT3 cars. Have them overlap together.
Oh my god, it's all happening again. But no, if the Nix Esports car can get a run out of here, he's going to be able to go for a move into the hairpin. Touch wide through turn 3 there, but still cut turn 4. And with even with the slight slipstream effect, no, look at the way the Magic Arrow 56 car has got out of that corner. Pulled a couple of car lengths on him straight away. He's peeked to the inside. Is that going to... is he going for it? He's going for it.
He's sending it. Our block sends it in and makes it.
Absolutely. Scared the 56 car off his line there. See, that's it. That's that little bit of peeking. it can just spook the car in front. Is he going to come back around the outside? Wow, chop of the
really
nose.
big chop.
Wow, what a fantastic for P7. P7 as the number 7 car sets a personal best of a 24.5, whereas his teammate is absolutely going for it against the Nix Esports car.
The 24.5 is not a valid lap time for the fastest lap. There is apparently a off track that was significant enough to invalidate that for the fastest lap counter.
Wow.
So, I mean, it counts for his lap. He didn't just lose the lap, but it will not count for the fastest lap statistic anyway.
No, of course. But I think that's a lot of our battles on track unfolded a little bit here. So me and Carmen will step away for that little hydration break now.
Absolutely.
And leave you folks with some gorgeous onboard noises of these absolutely fantastic touring cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, for everyone tuning in, spending your Saturday evening with us, we still have a lot of racing left to go. Coming to the 6-hour mark here in Hockenheim. Coming to about 4 hours to go in this race. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to the 10 hours of Hockenheim for the Platinum Endurance Championship, race 3 of 5 in Season 4. We're at the 6-hour mark here in Hockenheim. I'm Carmen, Sienna, alongside me, sports car champion and multi-class aficionado Taylor Mills alongside. You and Christina are going to have like a competition for the longest resume list I have to read out for every single broadcast. It's insane. But
should I start sending you other things that I've achieved in my time?
I mean, you may as well, because I have to make the like, if we're gonna have you in the booth for more of these, I gotta start having graphics made. I'm gonna I'll pull it up on the screen right now because I've got one for like when me and Chrissy join in. I got one made for when we've got you in the booth. There's a lot of things I got to get set up because like we got like one of these is what I got for me, and then Christina's got one of her own too. So.
A little miss well prepared. Oh, I have that one as well. I'm a Indy 500 winning crew chief too.
Yeah, it's a small world. It's all about the small things.
There's 3 of us. Don't say things like that because you'll get me singing and no one wants that.
You've not seen us on Mondays in HTL. It's a wild time.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, you're right. You have. Anyway, we're watching Virtual Insanity Racing. They're leading GT3, and we're watching that battle between Louis Mishk and Pedro Vigario in the AZR Motorsports car during that hydration break. Vigario doing a fantastic job, closing in now on the really slow motion racing 229. This was something we talked about before that break when Vigario got into the car. First time he got into the car, it was all about, okay, how long will it take him to get up to speed? Now he's fully at speed. He is going to be a threat.
Yeah, the really slow motion car did pick up the pace a little bit and got back into the mid to low 39s. They're still there, but unfortunately for them, the AZR Motorsport BMW
is in the low 38s.
About 0.6 of a second faster than them per lap at the moment. Also, whilst you're away, the battle has been developing between the Mass Devils Racing Red car, who are on that extended fuel-saving strategy, and they're now 4.6 seconds behind the Future Racing Team Cadillac. As well as that, the Magic Arrow 55 car has started to close the gap to the XBD Emerald Racing car. That gap's now down to 37 seconds and closing. We're looking at about a second per lap at the moment with XBD Emerald on 126.1 last time out, and Magic Arrow 55 on a 125.1.
So apparently something happened that we were not aware of. Mass Devils Red's a lap down now.
That might be pit stop strategy.
They were ahead though. How would they? Because that's almost losing 2 minutes worth of time.
Oh, true. Did we miss something whilst we were over there?
It's possible, because right now, Pride Dynamic Green has the race lead, which we're not surprised about with that one.
Yeah.
XP Emerald is about 9 seconds away, then Magic 55 16 seconds behind. Red is nowhere now.
We know Project Dynamic Green were really picking up the pace last stint. We watched that gap come down between them and Master Devils Racing Red as they were, as before the pit stop. So part of me thinks this might just be the result of that rather than anything in particular happening. What has happened though is the Master Devils blue car has lost a lot of time due to a drive-through for an incident with the 269F Racing GT3.
Yeah, I'm wondering what happened to the red team though, because they had a 40-second advantage on Project Dynamic Green, and now they are over a lap behind. That is 2 minutes and 20 seconds inverted in the past 10 minutes.
Which is, if something's happened to them, it's such a shame to see, because they were on for such a good strategy. But the thing is, we don't know how much faster that strategy might be at this rate. So if they don't have to stop, they're not going to have to be stationary for over a minute later on in the race. And if they've got the pace, it is going to come back to them, Carmen.
All right, so I just got information here. Mass Devils Red, they had an issue in the pit entry.
That's such a shame to see. It's one of those things. The pit entry here can be really, really tricky. As you know, we've seen in Formula 1 in recent years, people sliding off behind that bollard or doing it intentionally. Who can forget the infamous stay out, stay out, stay out, stay out? from 2018. But yeah, with that grass on exit, cars can very easily slide wide and end up back on the racetrack, intentionally or not.
Yeah, so that would explain why Mass Devil's Red are now out of the running at the moment, and that makes things very interesting. Is now it's a straight up fight between the top three. That is
Indeed, it is.
That eliminates the strategy situation. Now for XPD Emerald and Magic Arrow, you have to try to take advantage right now, having Stravato in the 71 car.
Yeah,
that is so hard to do.
All three of those cars on a very similar strategy. PDG on lap 29 of their stint, XPD Emerald Racing a couple of laps ahead of that, Magic Arrow a few laps behind. So that could all come down to pit stops at the end of the race, because we just from looking at that, we know that PDG and XPD Emerald are going to have to stop for a little bit longer than Magic Arrow 55. It could even be equal to the time gaps that are there right now.
I'm trying to see where all of these issues happen. We're looking at the 7 of Sergio Bora. So I think we have found a couple clips as far as to what happened to that 7 car, because it was Bora in that car.
Let's have a look here then.
Here's what happened. This is the 7.
That's forced onto the tight line into the second to last corner, so overshooting a little bit on the line. You wanted to be very late entry.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, and the front end gone as well. Straight away, that's 20 seconds of repairs, and we don't even know if there was anything. Oh, we towed. Oh, he towed as well. A relatively short tow from that part of the track, but even still.
Yeah, this is a really good example from really far out here. And again, play in slow motion here, because you'll see this car sweeps in wide. Does he clip the grass on the way? It's gonna be hard to tell. Oh, he definitely clips the grass there on the way. You see what the overlap is.
Yeah, that incident starts as he's gone down the inside of that GT3. He's carried a little bit too much speed into the second to last corner to make the pit lane, and then he's tried to compensate for it by slowing up a little bit more and cutting in. That'll be why. Did he go over the barrier?
No, he didn't flip over the barrier. He just flipped over and he just blocked the entry pit lane upside down, which is why he had the tow.
Sergio, that's such a shame. That strategy was looking really good as well. I was really rooting for them, Carmen. Not that we're supposed to have favourites, but I always love a good out there strategy.
The strategy was working. Like, it was going to be really hard for Project Dynamic Green to cover up in this race. Mm-hmm. Especially knowing that, you've got Stravato in that car right now, who is not the fastest driver in that car, but now you've made Stravato's job very easy. Now let's just keep the 5 and the 55 in check. That is a shame. Now it's funny because you still can't rule that 7 car out from being potentially a podium getter because of how that strategy worked.
That'd be a challenge, to be fair there.
But you can't rule it out yet.
I don't know. They're a minute and 10 seconds behind even a podium. I wouldn't be too hopeful about that unless something happens in the last hour of this race. But I feel like they're definitely going to be on for a P4 here at least. They've got fantastic pace and are already within a second of the future racing team Cadillac. In fact, I think the overtake could be on here, Carmen.
Well, it's happening right now because Dan Berg is coming in pit lane.
There you go, that'll do it. That is on strategy for this car as well. Another 33-lap stint. Similar to a lot of the other cars in the top 3 as well. We are expecting XPD Emerald to pop in. Maybe this lap, maybe that next lap as well. The Project Dynamic Green car, we know, stayed out an extra lap or 2 last stint, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on them and see if they're going to do the same thing this time around.
Yeah, Alvarez may be doing a driver change when he comes in this time. They're approaching the
I think they are due, Carmen.
I believe so, but we're within the last 4 hours of this race.
Here it is, his pit stop.
Yeah, he didn't make the swap last time out, so if he's going to do one, now'd be the time to do it. And then that leaves you with one more change at the 8-hour mark.
I'll tell you what, we've got to give some credit to Pablo Alvarez here. His pace has been so good in these last few stints. The only problem is the much fresher driver in the PDG car has just been so much faster.
Here's the driver change. Garcia Blasco back in.
Yeah, so Blasco knows what his job is. At the aim of the game, don't lose time. Get Alvarez rested up, get him back in the car. The thing with Alvarez, though, is he struggled to be on pace of Casper's. So once Casper's gets back in that PDG car, I think it's going to be a real struggle for the XBD Emerald guys to catch. The only thing that I think we need to keep an eye on now is how much shorter the Magic Arrow 55 stop is going to be at the end of this race. Because they've still got another 5 laps to go in this stint, Carmen.
Yeah, Magic Arrow's got a little bit of work. Now, we know that they made a driver change because Aaron Avener came out of that car and Thomas came in. So they are good to go on that. And Thomas is their fastest driver.
Is Thomas going to stay until the end of this race, though? Or...
No. That is an ass. That's almost half the race. There's got to be a driver change at some point.
It's got to be next stint. If you want Thomas back in the car at the end of this race, it's got to be next stint. But then it's that minimizing of the time loss again.
I think there's 3 drivers in that car. Because it's not just Thomas and Avener. I think there's a 3rd driver in that car. I don't remember who it is, but they took over earlier that they may have finished. I think legitimately, I think a lot of the faster drivers are coming in the car now, and then we're just gonna have closers come in.
Be very interesting.
I don't think we're gonna see the fastest drivers really at the end of this race, aside from a couple. That like you look at the 71, that's only got 2 drivers in it. Like now, obviously they've got a pretty straightforward pathway. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of the closers be also the fastest drivers.
I think it depends where you are in the race. The Mass Devils red car now 46 seconds in front of their teammates. I think you can just put whoever you want in towards the end of the race, because I don't think any one driver is going to be able to make a huge difference.
I don't think
because the only way they're gaining a position is if the XPD Emerald car has an issue. The same for the Future Racing Team car. They're chasing down the Nix Esports car, but with the pace that the Nix Esports cars had, I think it's going to be really tricky for them to pull anything on them at the moment. Although saying that, the Nix Esports car do owe us a stop. So Future Racing Team's fight is going to be with the Magic Arrow 56 here.
Yeah, the Mass Devils car. Sergio Bora's in that car right now. I don't see him being there at the finish.
No.
And he is their fastest driver.
Yeah, poor Sergio has had such a tough race.
Yeah.
With the damage early on today, and then that incident in the pit lane, you got to feel sorry for him, because that's those 2 incidents or those 2 issues are going to do a lot to a driver's ego, and not for the better.
Right now, it's Alberto Garcia Blasco back in that car, right at the perfect timing, sitting in 3rd place at the moment. Pride of Dynamic Green's going longer again on this pit stop.
Yeah, it's going to be their 34th lap of the stint. They could come in this time by Carmen. They are coming into the final sector. There's a lot of time for this to unfold. And they're nearly a lap ahead of the... I know XPD Emerald have stopped, but the number 5 car is only just coming out of the final corner now. Right, let's see what happens here for our leaders. Behind a GT3 in front of them.
And here it
That's
comes.
a pit stop. It's stop time.
And a clean pit stop. Here we go for Stravato.
We do expect Stravato to stay in for another stint here.
I would expect maybe 2 stints.
I think the same, because then you're going to put your fast guy in for the final 2 or 3.
Yeah, you got to
So
split in the middle.
We are getting towards that the sharp end of the race now. Ooh, Tamas getting really close to the back end of that BMW there, coming out the final corner.
Yep, taking the lead of the race.
For now. Only for a couple more laps, though. Again, these guys, if they can get a 34, 35 lap stint out here, it's just going to make their pit stop at the end of the race so much shorter. With the tyre model that we've got in iRacing here, if you can be on pace, the 24.9 as well from Magic Arrow last lap, but if you can stay out longer and maintain your pace, the overcut is so powerful just because of how long it takes to get these tyres up to temperature. Look at the previous lap for Emerald, 26.2, which is 1.3 seconds slower than the Magic Arrow 55, and that will have just been based on tyre temperature, Carmen.
Yeah, you know something that just kind of came across, the Mass Devils red car, the car that flipped in pit lane, only got 2 minutes of repairs.
Wow.
Talk about cutting a break.
Wow. and they're still only a minute off the lead currently. We've got to see. Honestly, I think I might be eating my words at the end of this race because these folks are still in a really good position somehow.
So I'm saying I think they still got a really good shot at the podium. I legitimately do. I think they've really got a really good shot here. If they
Podium definitely, but the win's going to be a bit of a stretch.
The wind's going to be so. It's so hard to figure out because the top three are not that far apart. Obviously, they look far apart right now because pit stops are underway. Once all three of them have made their stop, they're going to be relatively close. Like, they're within 20 seconds of each other right now, which after 6 hours is a lot. But if that Mass Devil's red car can continue to do what it was doing beforehand, they 100% can weasel their way into a podium. Or if an incident happens that blocks up the leaders, and it's very possible that it can still happen, then it is still a wide open fight right now. But they have to be big brain. They have to be very much on the strategy horn the entire rest of the way. You've got to be millimeter perfect the entire rest of the way.
Yeah, their pace isn't, I can't say, very promising at the moment. A 26.7 last time compared to XBD Emerald's 24.9. Their tires way up to temperature now. I'm very much expecting XBD Emerald to start building a gap to Mass Devil's Red, which I think is going to be their undoing when it comes to their podium chances, because they've still got to stop and lose another minute or so of time, and they're already a minute and 3 seconds behind the car in front.
Yeah, right now they're looking really, really, really good. Our racing's looking pretty good right now. Magic Arrow 55, they are setting really good times right now. 125 for them. It's their last lap.
Blue are actually matching the pace. Mass Devil's Blue are actually matching the pace of the leader at the moment.
Yeah.
On much fresher tires, though, I would maybe expect somewhere in the low 25s. But it's really good to see the Magic Arrow 55 car still pulling some pace out of it. It's going to keep this race interesting all towards the end. But we are in a little bit of a quiet period in this race because all of the gaps have opened back up. Everyone's kind of back into position, but now we're going through some driver changes. I'm expecting some of these gaps to close back up once again, and we'll see a little bit more excitement again soon, Carmen.
Yeah, all it takes is one significant mistake, and it's all wide open.
Indeed.
But you see, and obviously you look at the standings, top 7 of each class are on the board right now. GT3AM, pretty well settled. Triple Standing Racing and SR Technic, they are top 2, and it's not even close. GT3 Pro, Euromaster Esports, and Carbano Esports, again, they are at a league of their own. Only 2 cars in the lead lap there. Then you have 3 cars, 1 lap down between Karuma, Really Slow Motion, and AZR.
There's the Magic Arrow stop.
Yeah, here comes Thomas.
Again, not expecting a driver change here. Thomas probably due to do another 2 stints. But we're going to have to wait and see where he comes out relative to those that he's fighting.
Yeah, because he had a 49-second gap to Travado.
Yeah, who's only just coming out of the Mercedes-Benz arena. Mass Devil's Red are going to jump back onto the podium here, but again, they technically still owe us a stop. But we are mostly keeping an eye on the Project Dynamic Green, who've just come into the final sector.
On the final corners here.
That car's still stationary. It's going to be for a good while longer.
36, 37, 38. Yep,
Here
there
it
you
comes.
go.
There it is. The lead gets handed back over to Project Dynamic Green. What a brilliant race being run by them at the moment. Magic Arrow 55 still stationary.
Just not rolling now, and it'll drop into third. But largely where they were, they gained 6 seconds.
Yeah, they did. They did actually. Wow. That just shows how that overcut can really help.
Because they had that low fuel. Yeah, that low fuel is super crucial for them.
It's the tire warm up as well. They're going to lose. I reckon they're going to lose another couple of seconds here, at least on the first couple of laps. They do have a couple of cars for traffic in front of them, but it's nothing major. Should be pretty easy to deal with the traffic, but my concern for them right now is how cold those tires are going to be.
And as we mentioned before, these tires are a lot harder to warm up at night.
They are. Actually, as we were talking about the GTP pit stops, we're going to start expecting some stops from the GT3 field. Karuma Motorsports on their 35th lap of their stint right now. Last stint they did 35 laps, so expect them in this time by. In fact, there they are, they've pitted. Or have they?
Hey, hold on.
My timing tower just did a bit of a jump there. Oh, whoops. AZR Motorsport, have they just pitted as well? Or is everything having a little bit of a freak out moment? It is. We are in the GT3 pit window here. I'm just having a look over my data.
I believe they may have. Yeah, that's Diogo Teodoro that's in that car now. So they've had a driver change.
They have. Gaps have very much opened up in the GT. In fact, actually, that's a pretty early driver change, is it not? Pedro only did a stint, an hour in the car, from the look of things. Unless time's going by so quickly that I've missed an entire stint from Pedro.
He wasn't in the car that long.
Yeah. His pace is really good. Why have they swapped him out? That's kind of surprising.
I wonder if he wasn't meant to be in that car, because remember he was relieving for a tire driver.
Yes, no, true. We did see the drop off.
I wonder if he was kind of like, I'll jump in for a little bit. I wonder if he's supposed to be the closer.
In that case, I think AZR have made an absolutely fantastic strategy call, because we were talking about it at the time, how sometimes you've got to make those really difficult decisions as to whether or not you pull a driver out early. And I think that's exactly what AZR Motorsport have done. They pulled their slower driver, fatigued driver, out of the car, put in someone fresh just to keep on strategy, and are now putting Diogo in the car to kind of do a few more stints and bring Pedro back into the car to end the race.
Yeah, because Pedro had not been in the car up until that point. So what they've done is that they've put him in as a relief driver, let him get some side-in laps for what the conditions are on the track right now, and they put Diogo back in, who has been in this car already, to cover the gap. It's not a bad call, and I think it's driven by necessity rather than by design. But what a way to handle it! What a way to make lemonade out of it!
Yeah, indeed. I think it's to a point probably saved their race. Because now, after the really slow motion car that is due in next time by makes their stop, it's going to be really interesting to see what the gap is between those guys. It was about 7 seconds before the driver change, so I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, and they've got Andres Kuzma behind the wheel of that 229 machine. We saw this driver at the beginning of the race. We have not seen him much since. Not a huge pulse onto where Kuzma is as far as the driver lineup and the pace in that car at the moment.
Kuzma's last lap was a 138.8, which is up there in terms of GT3 pace at the moment.
Yeah,
the only car faster than him last lap was a couple of drivers, 2 cars faster than him last lap. The SR Technic BMW and the Carbono Esports BMW, both in the low 38s, but that is some really, really good pace for that car right now.
Yeah, so Kuzma's pretty well dialed in right now in that Ferrari. Sitting in the 4th position, would like to have a really good chance at the Karuma Motorsport 289, that Porsche in 3rd.
Yeah, but the Karuma Motorsport Porsche has stopped. This is the 2nd lap of their stint, and the really slow motion car owes us a stop. So I'm expecting them in this time by, Carmen.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on that 229, see if they do come in. The Nix Esports 33 car has come down pit lane. They are officially making their stop.
Yes, it has. So we're going to have to see where these guys come out relative to Magic Arrow 56. That's the car they were fighting before they came in. And the 56 car, again, on those longer stints, just like their sister car. So, again, we've got some fights coming to us now, Carmen. Everything's unfolding.
The ebb and flow is beginning to cycle back into these close combat situations. Kuzma comes down pit lane. See if there's a driver change here. I don't expect the driver change. I believe they just made one on their last
Kuzma's
stop.
going to stay in the car here. Kuzma's going to stay in the car. So our question now is, where is that 220? P5 in class coming towards the final sector now. pretty clear track in front of them, but they do have a pair of fighting GTPs. No, just 2 GTPs not fighting coming up behind him. That could slow him down. Trying to keep an eye on that on the track map. Ah, there it is on the broadcast for us.
Teodoro.
That's the 56 car as well that we want to keep an eye on for the next esports car.
Yeah, esports already out of pit lane.
Esports are rolling. They're out of pit lane. That's their position secure against the Magicara car. Good drive from those folks.
And really, so Motion Racing is out now ahead of AZR towards turn 2 now.
Gap still 7.9 seconds. Again, 6.7. Sorry. Again, though, cold tires on the 229. We're gonna have to see how the warm tires of the BMW fare here to try and close that gap down a little bit more. Expect a good few tenths in at least the first sector.
Not a bad effort so far. Kuzma holding on to that 4th position at the moment. Again, cold tires right now. We'll see how it pays for Kuzma in this section, especially when now we're getting close to the stadium section. This is where the heat and the tires are going to be very important.
Yes, indeed. I'm just trying to look at the sector times that should pop up shortly for us, so we can compare the 229 and the 220. Obviously, a 115 first sector isn't representative, and that's that. So 46.3. I'm expecting some underneath the 46s for the 220 this time by. Because again, those cold tires are really going to hinder Andreas's pace. Getting those tires up to temperature is so difficult, as you said earlier, in these cold conditions and just in general. Like, we've seen how teams have struggled with it in real life in IMSA and the WEC. One example that comes to mind, bit of a close call between the Acura and the Ferrari there, was one of the Ferrari hypercars at Spa earlier this year. Straight out the pits, straight into a wall because of those absolutely freezing cold tires. And the tires in iRacing are just as dangerous. You've got no grip in the front, so you're understeering, then you try to get on throttle and bam, the car just goes around on you.
There's a little bit of graph as to where Kuzma is compared to, and it is the car in front. That is Ordonez in 3rd place for Kuruma. But it compared to Teodoro. You see where the gap is right there. Yeah, pit stops, and I've sort of skewed this a little bit with both them making pit stops at different times. That's why you see the gap there.
I'm looking at their first sectors now. You can see the difference that that warm tires makes. 21.5 for the 220 and a 22.0 for the number 229.
But you see the difference before pit stops and after pit stops for both of them. The gap has come down by half a second. Before the pit stops began.
That fight's coming to us, Carmen. It'll be here soon.
Yeah, you can see, but that's the big takeaway. You see where the gap is, where the pit stops were. But now that both of them have made those pit stops, the gap has come down significantly from 7.3 to 6.7. So, useful graph after all. They just had to read through the spikes in the time there.
In this later part of the race, compared to the middle part, the AZR Motorsport car has been a little bit faster than the RSM Ferrari. I don't know what that's probably mostly going to be due to the driver change. But maybe the BMW is starting to come into it a little bit more. This is the same car that dropped off quite significantly after the RSM car came through on both them and the Virtual Insanity Porsche. But one of those multi-class endurance racing things, we're seeing driver swaps making a huge difference here. Although saying that, I think the RSM Ferrari is starting to pull away a little bit, Carmen.
Yeah, it's what it's looking like here a little bit. Gaps right now right back to 6.9.
Nice. Speaking of, we are seeing the gaps change at the head of the GTP field. Everything's getting a little bit closer up there now. We've got Magicara 55 only covering half the distance on their stint so far that the XPD Emerald Racing car has. So again, with that shorter stop coming up at the end of the race, if you're the Magicara 55 car, you're giving it all you've got to try and bring that gap down a little bit, just to give yourself that chance in the final stint. Because especially with how much less fuel they're going to have to put in at the end, I'm expecting at least a few seconds of time gain.
And now looking a little further down in the order here, going to see another battle coming up here with Virtual Insanity Racing, which has put Philip Spaz back in the car on their last pit stop there with SR Tetnik, who's not far behind.
Is that for position?
It will be.
What's happened to the VIR car? They were 2 laps ahead of that car.
So this is there's 2 SR Technic cars. One's a Pro, one's an AM car. This is a Pro car we're looking at here.
Yeah, that's it. SR Technic PEC. Ooh, so are SR Technic, the Pro car, going to try and put a little bit of pressure on the Virtual Insanity Racing Porsche?
I don't think so. I feel like there's still too much gap between Virtual Insanity Racing and the Technic AM car.
So I'm not going to read too much into that SR Technic BMW. They had a short stint last stint due to, I assume, a little bit of damage or a penalty, and are 29 laps into their current stint. The GT3s have only been given us 35 lap stints, so I think the SR Technic car is going to be in soon, Carmen, and isn't going to be a factor in this fight for track position here.
I just wonder how much of that the VIR team knows.
If they've got anything similar to the amount of information I have, I think they're going to be all over it, fortunately. Well, fortunately for them. Just monitoring the gap at the front of the field again. It was 7 seconds last lap, and it's now back under 6 seconds. The Project Dynamic Green car has had a little bit of traffic to contend with in the last couple of sectors here, and it has allowed the number 5 XPD Emerald car to just bring that gap down to 24.9 last lap compared to a 25.6 for the PDG car. If the traffic continues like this, I think that's going to get exciting. But unfortunately for the XPD car, the number 71 Project Dynamic Green has a lot of clear track in front of them, at least until they get into the final sector. We've got 16th, 17th and 19th in GT3 overall, practically nose to tail on track. And the number 71 car is going to have to deal with that shortly, Carmen.
Yeah, it will not be very entertaining if you're a Travato just trying to get through this, trying to maintain the advantage right now. Because these cars are right here, and Travato's not far away. There's Travato entering the arena section here.
It's well worth keeping an eye on. 5.5 seconds is the gap now. It's just being chunked away a little bit. Where's this drop off in pace come from? This is completely unexpected from Stravato. That gap's going to come down again this lap. Second place car coming through the final corner now. 25.2 last lap for Project Dynamic Green, Stravato. And a 25.0 for the XPD Emerald car again. It's going to be like that fight in GT3 earlier, where the gaps just kind of slowly come down. And then we're going to get a big old explosion once again.
Insanity Racing trying to race with SR Technic here. SR Technic's gone around here. Carlos Casino.
The SR Technic car just kind of having the pressure applied to them now that they've got past that Porsche. Although they do look like they have a little bit of a pace advantage to pull away here, which is good for them. They are very much out of sync and not in the same class as that Porsche on much older tyres. So to be fair, it's quite impressive that they're managing to pull the gap out this aggressively.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job so far in this race, and for SR Technic, again, it's one step closer for them as AZR Motorsports fallen backwards.
Yeah, that gap's now extended between AZR and RSM to 7.8 seconds. Now, they were gaining, and I'm surprised it didn't come down a lot more, but it seems like the really slow motion Ferrari is again, flying at the moment. They've found that pace once again, Carmen.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately for SR Technic, they owe a pit stop.
They do.
But
yeah, they kind of wasted a little bit of time fighting with that Porsche.
Yeah, the pressure's on them mostly because they're trying to get into this battle with AZR right now. But they've got to make sure that they've got over 1 minute and 10 seconds in hand for that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a stretch for the SR Technic car to even have a shot at getting into a fight for the top five overall in GT3. As you said, they owe us a stop and did have a short stint last time.
Yeah.
We think due to damage. So really, their fight is going to be with the F Racing GT3 car.
Yeah.
The 269 Ferrari.
Effectively, yeah, you're not wrong.
Although, to be fair, that 296 F Racing GT3 Ferrari has been an incident of its own. A little bit of contact with the Mass Devils Blue car earlier on in the race. The Mass Devils Blue car got an incident responsibility for, and a drive-through penalty, in fact. Speaking of the Mass Devils racing team, the number 7 red car lighting up their personal timing boards with a PB of a 124.3. I don't know what's happened to them during those repairs, but they seem to have found some pace now, Carmen. 49 seconds to the car in front.
I'm trying to figure out where their pace is coming from right now as well.
Magicara Racing 55 having a turn up in pace as well. The lead car has lost a little bit of time to those over the last few laps. Gained a touch this time by though, but the top 3 super duper close on pace. 25.4, 25.9 and 25.6 respectively. And that's even through traffic. So these guys are absolutely going for it. They know what's at stake here, Carmen. And with 3.5 hours to go, they're still fighting hard for it.
Yeah, they absolutely are. It is very wild seeing how this is turning out here. 4 cars on the lap in GTP. Could be on the verge of seeing a little bit of a miracle going on here.
We don't have safety cars in this series, right?
No, we had a straight red flag because of the technical issue, but we've not had safety cars, no. That was throwing things for a giant loop.
That will make things just that little bit more exciting. Could you imagine if when the Writer Engineering car had gone off? That would have brought everything right back together.
Or when the 7 car flipped the pit lane, they had to close pit lane. That would have been something.
That was crazy. I've been there before, though. I know exactly how it feels. I can't do anything but feel sorry for those guys. XPD Emerald losing a little bit of time last lap to Magic Arrow 55. Only a few tenths, but over the course of a race like this, those tenths really do start to add up as they have to go down the inside of that Ferrari, kind of sacrificing their run up towards the Spitzke hairpin. Another Ferrari almost getting in their way there. Such a miscommunication between the two cars there. The Ferrari wanted to stay wide, but I think the Magic Arrow car expecting them to come to the inside a little bit. Almost coming together. Fortunately not, though, for both of them.
Yeah, very close right now. 14 seconds separate the top 3 in GTP. And that gap is coming down as Magic Arrow 55 continue to try to work their magic here in Hockenheim. Norbert Thomas in the 55 machine, their fastest driver right now. Showing why.
Absolutely flying. Especially with the fresh, well, no, not even with the fresh legs. The fact he's still able to maintain this pace on his, third stint in the car?
Yeah.
Crazy. Fair play to him, though. It takes a lot of practice to be able to do that, to build that muscle memory and really get into that rhythm. Because it might sound weird, but when you're practicing for these sorts of races, even if you just, especially if you're just on your own, because that's how you have to do it mostly, you kind of have this internal clock that ticks over in your head. And you have your braking references, you have your turning references, but at the end of it, most of it comes down to kind of all the muscle memory and that feeling of that internal clock, where to brake, where to turn in, where to accelerate. And it all kind of shifts and changes as the stint goes along. Your tires wear, the fuel burns off, the car gets faster, then slows down again as the tires start to go off. And it's all shifts that internal clock around a little bit. And the best drivers are the ones that can really stay on top of that and know how the car is going to transform and change its behavior over the course of a stint. And we've really seen that with Norbert Thomas here, who's been able to maintain pace so consistently and so quickly for the entire duration of his time in the car so far. Really, really impressive stuff. Again, the gap to the car ahead, less than 9 seconds and catching.
It's been very interesting to see so far, especially as Thomas threads the needle there in the arena section.
Yeah, the glowing of the brakes as well on the front, absolutely beautiful to see. I think one of my favorite things about racing in the dark is just seeing how bright and hot those brake discs get. Because the thing is, intellectually, you know how hot they get, but in the daytime, you don't really get to see it that much. So to see them just glow nice and bright red is always a little bit astonishing, because that metal's almost melting. Oh, that's a spin.
This is the AM car for SR Technic, and that's almost trouble. Based on where that car was slowed down at.
Almost collecting a couple of cars there. Fortunately for them, though, they are a lap ahead of their next closest competitor on track, so they can kind of afford to make mistakes like this. The only thing they need to make sure of is that more of these don't creep in and creep in. Ooh, that's a bit of a wide moment for the 2-7. Is that a move for position, Carmen?
No, it is not.
Oh, he spun. No, a little bit of a spin on exit. It was almost a really, really good overtake on a lapped car there, but couldn't make it stick. Bit of a spin on exit, losing time. Fortunately, not losing position though. Again, all these AM cars, these pro cars at the back of the field, all separated by laps. The 274 a lap ahead of the car behind it and a lap behind the car in front. Although, as we were talking about before, Carmen, XBD Emerald, 4.4 seconds is the gap now. 25.2 last lap compared to a 25.9. That gap's getting closer. I think Stavato's starting to feel it a little bit. That pace drop-off is there. It's coming, and it's there.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting little battle here between Product of David Green and XBD Emerald Racing. Gap is less than 4 seconds.
Well, that's the thing. We know Caspers is due back in that car soon, so fingers crossed they'll be able to overturn whatever time loss has come from Stravato's time in the car. Credit to him though, Stravato's done a fantastic job to maintain the lead. He's done some really impressive driving. It's just later on in his stint, Tamas has really picked up the pace. Dealing with that traffic though can be so mentally fatiguing. So again, to still be in the lead and maintain it at 25 is still fast, but sometimes you don't have an answer for the car behind. Traffic not helping him out there either. He's going to get one into the final corner, and then have to move a little bit offline onto the dirty side of the track into turn one. I think fortunately for him though, Tamas is going to have to deal with his GT3s in a little bit more of an unfortunate position. You might be able to clear one of them before the corner. We see in the background here, Carmen, he is going to get held up by the other car.
And one thing to keep an eye on, the Mass Devils red car, the 7 car, just set the fastest lap of the race.
That's by a 10th over the previous lap record holder. 24.2, absolutely rapid.
Yeah.
It's not even that far off the qualifying time that we've had here today.
No, it is not.
Super impressive stuff from Mass Devils Red. It's a shame they had that incident on pit lane entry, because especially lighting the timing screens up like that, it would have given them such an opportunity coming into the end of this race. Again, I'm not ruling them out for anything in particular. Anything can still happen. The gaps at the front of the field are really starting to come down, and we could see some excitement later on here. But it's tricky. It's tricky to really have too much faith in anything better than a top 4 for them here. Stravato again getting held up in this final sector. Just going to allow that gap to come down a little bit more between him and Tamas. 4.2 seconds coming out the final corner. 25.2 last lap. and a 26.5. So he has managed to pull away just a little bit here. I think a little bit poorer traffic management from Tomas has just allowed Stravato to extend that gap a little bit more, as he's got a really good chunk of clean air in front of him, and Tomas has to deal with another GT3 through the 234 complex.
Yeah, this has been an absolutely wild turn of events here in the final stanza of this one. Coming to the final 3 hours. Right now, where's Stravato?
It's still a long way to go, Carmen. Still a very long way to go.
Yeah, that was red in pit lane. So
that's early. That's one lap early. Is that on strategy for them? They don't have to save so much more fuel now, but that's still a little bit early.
I think at this point they're just pushing and pushing and pushing, and that is an immediate driver change. Garcia getting back in.
Now Garcia's been really, really quick in this car, even with the fuel saving. So maybe now's the chance for them to just keep chipping away at that gap and try something.
Yeah, I think the fuel save strategy's kind of gone away now because of how far back they've become.
Even then, Carmen, they're still going 2 laps longer than everyone else. Remember, everyone else is doing 33 and 34 lap stints, so to even be doing 36 or 35 lap stints is still good enough to have a much shorter stop at the end of the race. It's going to be something to keep an eye on. I don't know if they're going to save a minute, but at the rate they're going, with the pace of the car and what seems to be left in the tank, they're going to have a bloody good shot at it, and I don't blame them. Stravato getting held up in the hairpin just a little bit once again, just allowing that gap to the car behind to come down again just a touch. Honestly, at this rate, Carmen, they're teasing us. It's just getting closer, but then there's some more traffic that the second place car has to deal with that just extends the gap a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's the tricky thing with the Hockenheimring, though. It's such a short track, only 4.6 kilometers, that if you're in the GTPs, you are constantly dealing with traffic. You're never going to get a clean lap in at this rate.
That's all about managing the clean air when you get it. And it's the ebb and flow right now, back down less than 4 seconds. Stravato compared to the 5 car, the XPDMR racing machine, sitting right now in second place. Alberto Garcia Blasco can almost see the 71 in front of him. Can almost see him.
Yeah, absolutely trading lap times at the moment. 25.1, 25.4. But there's been laps where PDG have been faster, there's been laps where XPD Emerald have been faster, and I'm just waiting for it to come to a crescendo. So I want to see these 2 cars fight on track. It's what we're here for. Like, strategies are always an interesting race, but what we really want to see is on-track battles, and that's what XPD Emerald and PDG are going to give us very shortly here, I hope.
Could very well have a 4-car fight at the end of this as things currently run.
Especially with the pace that Mass Devils Racing Red have had in these last couple of stints. Although they are struggling to get those tyres up to temperature at the moment, only a 27.6 last time round. They've got to be in the low 24s to make this work now. I don't know if they'll be able to do that with their fuel saving, but looking at what they've pulled off so far, if anyone could do it, it's them. Less than 3 seconds the gap now at the front of the field. 25.9 last lap for PDG, and then a whole second faster for the XPD Emerald. A little bit of traffic getting in the way of both of these cars this time round. It's imperative for the number 5 car to pass both of these GTs into the hairpin. And looking at the overspeed he's got, he's going to be able to do it. Flashing the headlights, letting him know he's there. Side by side with the GT on entry. GT pinching him just a little bit on turning there. But Blasco managing to still get the exit. He's still got Tamas in his sights. Not Tamas. Sorry. Who's that in the PDG car?
That's still Travato in the PDG car.
Travato. Still bringing that gap down though.
You're thinking of 55 right now. Thomas is in the 55.
I am. Been a long race, Carmen. Been a long race.
Oh, you're telling me? Telling some of these drivers that have been in this car for pushing 4 hours.
Yeah, again, a little bit of traffic for Blasco here isn't going to help him. Final 2 corners as well, where you can lose a lot of time to GT3s. Not having that much downforce on the car compared to the GTPs. You are going to have to back up a little bit, really focus on that exit. 25.8 for Project Dynamic Green last lap. 25.8 for XBD Emerald as well. Almost setting identical lap times. Well managed from Blasco there to not lose any time despite the traffic he had to deal with. Imagine if he'd have had a completely clean run. I think he would have gained a good half a second on the car in front that time round.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see how this battle plays out. 237 and 234 last pit stop laps for the 71 and the 5. We're on lap 263 now, so we still have a few laps too.
We're getting within 10 laps of the pit window now, Carmen. So these guys need to get a bit of a wriggle on. I can see on the track map though they are going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic here. The 71 going to get past that Ferrari nice and easily into the stadium section. Number 5 going to kind of struggle maybe coming into the hairpin where Sebastian Vettel infamously went off into the barrier whilst leading the 2018 German Grand Prix. But a good gaggle of GT3s in front of these guys now. One that the 71 is going to have to deal with in this final couple of corners. But then we've got a good little pack going through turn 1 now. 2 cars practically side by side and then another car just off the tail end of it. I think how these folks deal with this little gaggle is going to determine how close this gap's going to be within the next couple of laps.
Absolutely.
Oh, right up the inside of that BMW there for Blasco. Brilliant little bit of traffic management. Gets himself a nice clean run through turn 2 and then a nice clean exit down the straight. Project Dynamic Green now coming up on a pair of, yeah, just a little bit offline there. That's going to slow him down a little bit. Blasco is going to close that gap down under 2 seconds. Now, it's imperative Blasco passes both of these cars. He's going to go to the inside on the really slow motion car there, and then switch to the inside of that Porsche there. I don't know what team it is. I don't have my spotters guide up. But again, some excellent traffic management from Blasco is really helping him bring that gap down. Another bit of traffic into the stadium section for the number 71 means he's going to struggle to keep up speed on entry to it. So keep an eye on that gap. It is going to get closer. The 71 still having a couple more cars to deal with in this final little sector. Oh, what a squeeze through down the inside for Blasco there. Travato answering into the final corner. I think maybe a little bit of contact there, Carmen.
Almost contact between both the leaders there as they try to get around GT3 cars.
Wow. Again, that gap come down by another second.
Seconds. There we go. It's within a second now. Pressure is on.
The pressure is indeed on. That little bit of slipstream effect up the straight really going to help out the second place car here. Couple more Ks extra is all you need. Manage that under braking. I think we're going to see some happen for the lead in the next few laps. This is getting tight.
Absolutely insane stuff right now. This is a battle for the race lead overall. Travato and Garcia duking it out.
I think I've got to give the credit to the XBD Emerald Racing driver here. They have managed all of that traffic absolutely masterfully and really came out on top of that one. I think maybe the fatigue starting to come in for Travato now. And a bit of poor luck on the GT3 front. But Garcia just placed his car perfectly throughout that entire little run and has got himself well within fighting distance of the number 71 car.
Absolutely wild stuff so far.
Almost feel the dirty air. Almost feel the dirty air through there. Here the tyres scrubbing on the tarmac. As Garcia having to deal with being right tucked up under the rear wing of Stravato. A little bit wide through turn 1 there, but Stravato hasn't carried a lot of speed through there. Garcia can nail the braking and get a good run through here. We might be seeing a pass for the lead sooner than we expected. No traffic in front of them, no GTs to help out Garcia here. Just going to be a slipstream fest all the way down the straight. It might be close enough to have a peak, maybe have a dive for the lead. Stravato defending the inside a little bit, but getting back on the racing line as he realizes Garcia doesn't have anything to go for here. Equal exit for both of these drivers here down towards the Mercedes-Benz arena. There is a GT3 car not too far in front of them, so I'm expecting that thing to play a part in this fight in the stadium section, Carmen.
Yeah, very possible. Very, very, very possible right now. Hustle is on right now. Again, Stravato just needs to hold on until he can get back to pit lane and get Caspers in this car, but that's at least an hour away. Imagine being in this position for over an hour.
Here it is once again, though. We're going to see the 71 car get a little bit wide on the second to last corner there. Going to get away with not getting held up by the P18.
Oh,
GT3
this is
in
gonna
the
be a
final
struggle.
corner.
What a sin! Oh, no!
No! Whoa, Garcia tried to go for something there.
He was hoping.
Wow!
He was hoping that car would just let them both go through, and that wasn't how it happened.
A brilliant bit of traffic management from Stravato there, absolutely sending it down the inside into turn 1.
For an answer at all.
Oh, that's, again, a little bit of strategy when you're dealing with traffic in these sorts of races.
Yeah,
throwing GTs at the person chasing you is a very viable strategy to keep them behind you. Brilliant, brilliant move from Stravato there. Excellent heads-up driving. Gap now back out to 1.6 seconds, and they matched each other last lap as well. Of course, that's not going to be the case here, but as has been the case through this entire race, the number 71 is going to have some more traffic to deal with in the stadium section. Another lone GT3, not too far up the road here, Carmen.
Yeah, another opportunity for time to be won and lost. Future Racing Team Pro in pit lane.
And the pit cycle starts again. It doesn't even feel like 5 minutes since the last one, Carmen. This stint's really gotten electric.
As the DMR Racing has slowed down a little bit here. 2.1, the gap now.
Yeah, it's just getting held up by that GT in the final 2 corners. It's really costing a little bit in this fight. Is it pit stop?
Yeah, pit stop for the 5.
That'll be why. Smart choice. They already know they're not making it to the end without cutting off a stop. It's going to be a short stop for them at the end anyway, but this might help them just get out on fresh tires. It's going to be really important to see where they come out here, because I can see a big group of GTs coming through the final sector now. Really hoping for their sake that they can get out way, way, way behind them into some clean air, because they're going to need it to get those tires up to temperature. Because as we've seen, you lose a lot of time on getting those tires warmed up. But maybe they'll be able to get them warmed up before Project Dynamic Green pit, and then start to pull them in a little bit. Yep, that is that gaggle. It's gone through, and yep, our car that's currently in P3 is still stationary. That is going to help them, but they need to get moving now. They need to be moving now, because there's another gaggle on its way. It's going to lose out to a couple of GT3s here, so there's going to be a couple to deal with on his outlap. He's not going to have that grip that he needs to be able to send it down the inside, but he's going to give it a go. Does he get it stopped? Yeah, nice and easy. No issues there. He already knows how to deal with cold tires.
Trouble a little bit further behind. Fabio Braga. What happens to the Brazilian driver's machine? Halpside Motorsport 5th in GT3M. Is it just a simple spin?
Contact, GTP. I think just very slow through the hairpin has kind of triggered something there, no?
That's not an accident at all. Follow through,
thank you,
make sure.
Analyst.
Yeah, thank you, SDK. Appreciate it.
Hey, it does its job half the time, and that's what it's all about.
It is half correct all the time. Alberto Garcia Blasco sitting P3. Now it's a matter of waiting to see where everyone else ends up in this situation. Stravato leading the way by now 12.8 seconds. The Magic Arrow 55 being driven by Norbert Thomas, who has continued to close in that gap.
Yeah, his pace has kind of dropped off in recent laps, though. Last time around, 26.9, and he's just kind of losing touch with the back end of the other two cars at the moment. As unfortunately, I do need to step away for just a moment here. I will be right back.
As Taylor pulls away for a second, we'll keep an eye on this battle once again. Moving up, there's actually another battle here, once again between the 213 and the 359. Phil Spez in that Virtual Insanity Racing car. SR Technic being driven by Jorge Pinheiro, as they battle for 6th overall in GT3. Phenomenal job so far in this race. Pit stops ongoing here in the 10 hours of Hockenheim. A long pit window underway. We're going to step aside for a refreshment break. Don't go anywhere. Non-stop coverage of the Platinum Endurance Championship continues here on ABN Esports 1. Once again, it happens while we're on our hydration break, always at the hour mark too. You saw live on your screen AJ Stravato in contact with the XPD Emerald Racing number 5. Garcia goes through.
It's safe to say I'm fully expecting some sort of protest from the 71 car for that. Mostly though, I think it comes down to a racing incident. You saw XPD Emerald Racing with that minimal overlap coming into the hairpin. I think the Project Dynamic Green team just expected them to back out of the move. But it's one of those things, I always say it, you pinch, you pay. So I think some of the blame has to go onto the 71 car. Despite the fact that it was a very, very audacious move from the XPD Emerald car, you have to really sit back and think, what could I have done differently? And in that case, I think the 71 car probably should have left just a little bit more room.
Yeah, well, let's look at what happened at this incident here. Instant replay for AJ Stravato. This was a very close battle that was happening under our hydration break.
Yeah, it was a great run down the straight. Just couldn't quite get there on turn-in, and I think Stravato commits to turn-in way before the XPD Emerald car's there. I don't know if there's much he could have done.
Let's see if we can ride on board with the... This is the onboard of the 71 with Stravato. We'll see if we can go on board with the XPD Emerald car and sort of see what he was seeing.
I think this is going to be the angle. Not alongside, not alongside. Turns, yeah, no, completely 100% on the number 5. I think that's on the
drive-through.
Especially from that angle, yeah. Like from the offboard, it looks like the 71 just tries to pinch him to make him back out of it. But yeah, the onboard is pretty damning. And is that the number 71 round again?
Not sure if it's the 71 again. 71's still rolling, it looks like, only 15 seconds off. So I don't think they've had any more issues here.
They looked super slow out of the 2-3-4 complex there. I think trying to get back up to speed after that incident in frustration, looks like they might have just taken a different line through the 2-3-4 complex, and back end stepped out on them a little bit. Such a shame for the Project Dynamic Green car, because they've been running so well this entire race. The pace of all of the drivers has been absolutely fantastic, and it's such a shame to see such a close fight end like that, Carmen.
Yeah, especially and it's sad, but it's also exciting, because now it puts Casper's in a situation where he's gonna have to push really hard when he gets in that car. So there's the exciting part of it, but at the same time, you hate when contact like that happens. You wanted to see it happen like straightforward and a lot cleaner. Hopefully that 71 car doesn't have a lot of damage. That's the biggest concern, is if that diffuse has been damaged at all.
I think that's they're going to be fine damage. It was the equivalent to what happened at the start of today's 8 hours of Bahrain. A little bit of a touch on the back, no damage, spins you around though, and then you got to recover, and that's the hard part. 7.9 seconds is the gap between the Project Dynamic Green car and the Magic Arrow 55 car that is now up in second place. 16 seconds between the 71 and the 5 car though. But at the rate that Casper's has been going, it's going to be almost trivial for him to close that gap. Stravato just needs to keep his head on straight now, get the car to the end of the stint, and then get Casper's back in that car and bring it home.
Again, 4 cars really in this fight in GTP. It has been electric following this entire fight.
It has.
Looking a little bit further down the order, this is in GT3 Pro, and this has been a very straightforward fight for Euromasters Esports, the pole sitter. They've got a 37-second advantage over Cabano Esports, with Alberto Moreno behind the wheel there.
Yeah, you've got to say the class leaders in GT3 have absolutely nailed this race so far.
Absolutely.
Really flawless drives from both of them. The fact that Virtual Insanity Racing have been able to pull a 2-second gap, 2-lap gap, sorry, on every single car on their class. round of applause to you folk in that car. You've done nothing but impress all day. 7th overall is an absolutely fantastic position to be at. Slugging it out with all of the GT3 Pro cars. But hats off to you.
Yeah, it has been an absolutely wild time in the GT3 classes. Something that I don't think we were expecting quite so much was how good Virtual Standing Racing was going to be in this race. Mixing it up with the pros in this race. Firmly so.
It's very much a testament to most of the class leaders. The way to win these endurance races is to keep it clean. I don't think Euromasters have been involved in any incidents at all. I've got no notes on them, so I can't say anything much has happened. Like, they may have finished 19th last time out, but they bounced back straight away with a pole in class and are leading the race by a really solid 36 seconds. I don't want to jinx it, Carmen, but the only way this goes wrong for them now is if they have an incident with another car.
Yeah, right now, it'd be so hard, especially with now that we've seen a lot of the attrition. The attrition rate has slowed down significantly here. You know, we're looking at 29 cars still rolling here. The only car I think out of this would be Halbside Motorsport. But I don't know, they're not out of this race yet. There's Fabio Braga still in this race, so we're at 29 cars.
Still rolling laps down. Wow.
Yeah, Luciano Gomez pick up the pace, still rolling as well. So that gives us 6 cars in GT3AM, I should say, with a legitimate chance.
Starters, no?
Yeah.
Wow. Fair play to those guys for still going. I think they are the highest percentage of cars left in their class.
That's what it typically has been. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, even if they lose one car, that's still a significant chunk of their field gone. But if we look at the GTP field, they've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars this race. The only ones left running are those running in the top 10. But even then, the Carbono Esports black car is 20 laps down on the car in front of them.
Navarro Gutierrez leads the way in 5th place here for Mass Devils Blue. Sitting right now just 3 seconds ahead of Future Racing Team Pro in this battle for 5th place. That's beginning to rage a little bit.
Yeah, the gap is coming down. 25.9 for Mass Devils Blue and 25.3 for the Future Racing Team car. Be interesting to see how that one develops. They're on very different strategies. Mass Devil Blue still on that